You ain't gotta say a word. Just walk that, let's get burned. Then we'll roll up 100 fucking nuts. All up in my mouth. Now I'm all up in yo. This nigga got pounds of it. All up in his trunk. Now we both look Asian. He waving and I'm drunk. I got dank shit in my cup. You know what I'ma do to you? I could give reviews to you. Slow, we X and we sipping on that juice. That's just what she choose to do. Slow, we come fast. Speeding up the heartbeat, banging in the chest. When you put it on me, you relieve my stress. You got me so high, taking deep, deep breaths. You get me so high, you get me so high. I know you ain't a drug, but you get me so high. You get me so high, you get me so high. I know you ain't a drug, but you get me so high. You get me so high, you get me so high. I know you ain't a drug, but you get me so high. You get me so high, you get me so high. You get me so high, you get me so high.
POV.
But I can't tell where your hair ends and mine begins. If I had a boy's tattoos, I would think that it's your skin. If I move too quick, that's you, I would think it's my reflection. In the cold season, close enough. You could tell every time we touch, every time we up. Wish you could feel me, if you'd apartment. One bedroom, right where your heart is. Each space feels broken hearted. Cross the bed, feel way too foreign. I know when you see just someone new, they see us too. Ooh, I just wanna melt into you. I'm melting to you. Just wanna melt into you. Melt into you. Melt into you. Imagine you ready for love and taste of the night. Hoping you're there so you can spit it out your mouth. Inhale, exhale, breathe in. With every breath I'm sinking in. No way to describe it, I'm a riot. If I wake up and I'm still not beside you, instead of beside you, just sitting surprise you. You don't even notice, no need to remind you. Wish you could feel me, a cute apartment. One bedroom, right where your heart is. Each place feels broken hearted. Cross the bed feels way too foreign. I wonder when they see just one, do they see us through? We're melting to you. I'm melting to you. We're melting to you. I'm melting to you. I'm melting to you. Where do you end? Where do I begin? Start over again. Feel like melting, melting. Where do you end? Where do I begin? Start over again. Feels like I'm melting, melting.
Hey, Century. There are times when I look above and beyond. There are times when I feel your love around me, baby. I'll never forget my baby. When I feel that I don't belong, draw my strength from the words when you said, hey, it's about you, baby. Look deeper inside you, baby. see. I know you are there, smiling back at me, dancing in moonlight. I know you are free, 'cause I can see your star shining down on me.
at 5 in the morning. I wake up to fight for my yearnings. The fear in my mind is a warning. Pray to the one you're relying. I've been wandering all day. I tried to be fine, but I can't be. The noise in my mind wouldn't leave me. I tried to get by, but I'm burning. I'm behind, my mind it runs. All these thoughts have troubled me. Fighting to give up my pain. Fighting to be on my lane. My mind running to the other side. When it's time to leave my life, then it tries to take me out. Tell you what I need. Right, yeah. I really need time now. I need to free mind now. I really need mind now. I need to free my mind now. I really need time now. I need to free mind now. I really need mind now, yeah. This is the peace that you cannot buy. Send me a love that you cannot mix. One is the joy that you cannot waste, and the other one price that you cannot fix. This is the peace that you cannot buy. Finding a way where you cannot see. Man with this system, he cannot breathe. I need to find relief. But behind my mind it runs. All these thoughts have troubled me. Fighting to give up my pain. Fighting to be on my lane. My mind running to the other side. When it's time to leave my life, then it tries to take me out. Tell you what I need. I really need my love. I need to free my mind. I really need time now. I need to free my mind now. I really need time now. I need to free my mind now. I really need time now. Just let me free, freer than the open mind, farther than the eyes can handle, freer than the ocean now. Yeah. Just set me free. Now I need to find relief. Set me to the open sky. Now I need to free my mind.
Drop top Porsche, rollie on my wrist, diamonds up and down my chain. Cardi B straight stunning, can't tell me that the boss up and I changed again. It's my big bronze boogie, got all them girls shook. My big fat ass got all them boys cooked. Some dollar bills, now we popping rubber bands. Bruno sang to me while I do my money dance like, yeah. Flexing on the gram like, yeah. Hit the little John, okay. Oh yeah, we doing the investigate.
Ooh, don't we look good together? There's a reason why they watch all night long. Yeah, I know we'll turn heads forever. So tonight I'm gonna show you off. But when I'm walking with you, I watch the whole room change. Baby, that's what you do. No, my baby don't play. Blame it on my confidence. I'm blaming on your measurements. Shut the shit down on sight. That's right. It don't make no sense. Now slow it down.
Hey y'all, happy Thursday. Come on in. Double tap that screen for you, girl. Like the live stream, I appreciate it. Hey, Miss Leah. Mm. Hey, Malika. Hey, Amazing. Who else we got in the building? Is that it? Mm-hmm. That's it. That's typing. How y'all doing? Come on in. We're going to get started. Okay, so listen. Today we're going to be talking about this autopsy. You know, the independent autopsy. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Of course, we're going to listen to some clips. Of course. And then we're going to also react. Now, we're also going to talk about this interview. Now, we listened to part one, right? Of the interview with the friend, the so-called best friend. That's what he has in his title. That's why I put it in quotes in my title. You know, the best friend of Nolan. Mm-hmm. Um, we listened to part one, I think, on yesterday, but we're gonna listen to it again because part two is now out, and we're gonna listen to both parts together. Okay, y'all put a one in the chat if you can hear me, so we can get started. And we'll get started putting the one in the chat. Let me know y'all can hear. For whoever can type a one in the chat. Mm. And then we're gonna get started. Y'all make sure y'all double tap that screen to like the live stream. Let me go to my own. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. All right, so let me see if I can hear myself. And I can't. Or maybe I got it on. Is it on Bluetooth? Yeah, it's on Bluetooth. Should not be on Bluetooth. I don't know why it's on Bluetooth. There we go. All right, so let me see if I can hear myself. Hold on. Can you hear me? Nope, can't hear myself. I don't know why. Let me go out and come back in. My God. Oh, I was on mute. Wait a minute. Can y'all hear me? I can't hear myself. Wow. Can y'all hear me? Put a one in the chat. Wow. Mm. Y'all can't hear me? I can't hear myself. I know that's. Can y'all hear me? Oh, there I am. Can y'all hear me? I can hear me. All right, I'm going to talk because I can hear me. I don't know what the hell was going on, but anywho, nobody was typing. So here we are today, y'all. We are here. We're going to watch a couple clips. All right, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes, which is talking about this autopsy and also talking about this interview that this. Hold on. All right, there we go. And talking about this so-called best friend that's supposed to, who did an interview with Officer Tatum, one of the top-notch black guys that's against black people, but that's neither here or there. But let's get into it. Let's go. Hold on. All right. Did I bring it up?
Shows what could be an image of Nolan Wells on the day he went missing off the Mississippi coast. TMZ posting this video they say was taken on Horn Island on July 4th, the last day the 18-year-old was seen alive. The clip appears to show a man standing on the back of a boat bending over. The man's face is never seen, but the shorts the man is wearing are similar to shorts Nolan had in other pictures from that day. NBC News was able to match the location to previously verified video of Horn Island from that day. Two people who knew Nolan say they believe it looks like him, but they can't be certain. Nolan went to the island with friends on July 4th. His body was found 2 days later. It's unclear whether Nolan was with anyone when he disappeared. The boat in the video is not the same one Nolan took to Horn Island that day. TMZ reports that the video was dropped off to the Jackson County Sheriff, and investigators are aware of the clip. NBC News has reached out to the sheriff's office and the family's attorney about the footage and has not heard back from either. Melissa Miller spent the 4th of July with her own group of friends on Horn Island.
It's not uncommon for people to, take different boats back because, it's a big boating community. A lot of people know each other.
Meanwhile, the family's attorney says tomorrow they'll announce preliminary findings from their independent autopsy. All of this is some question if this video could reveal new clues about Nolan's last day. Aaron Gilchrist, NBC News, Ocean Springs, Mississippi.
And we're back. We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.
We could learn more today about the investigation into the mysterious death of Mississippi teenager Nolan Wells. His family expected to make a big announcement. NBC's Aaron Gilchrist is following that case for us. Aaron, good morning.
Willie, good morning. The family of Nolan Wells, along with their attorney and the NAACP, expected to release the preliminary results from the independent autopsy they commissioned to figure out how Nolan Wells died. We know the local coroner has not yet completed his report, and the sheriff's office in Jackson County, Mississippi, has said that the investigation is still ongoing. The trip to Horn Island was supposed to be a fun holiday celebration, and this morning there is new video emerging that may possibly show Nolan Wells on the day that he disappeared. TMZ is posting this video that they say was taken on Horn Island on July 4th, the last day that the 18-year-old was seen alive. Now, NBC News was able to match the location to previously verified video of the island from that day. And in the clip, it appears to show a man standing on the back of a boat, bending over. The boat in the video is not the one that Nolan took to the island that day. The man's face here is never seen, but the shorts he's wearing are similar to shorts Nolan had in other pictures from that day. We do know that two people who knew Nolan believe that it could be him, but they say they are not certain about that. TMZ is reporting that the video was dropped off at the Jackson County Sheriff's Office and that investigators are aware of it. We also know that several celebrities, are now offering a $125,000 reward for information used to arrest and conviction in this case. Willie?
To learn more today, Aaron Gilchrist, thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
Nolan Wells' family held a news conference today, and their attorney, Ben Crump, revealed the results of the independent autopsy. Crump says that there was something on Nolan Wells' skull, his head, that revealed a possible injury, a possible head injury. This is more complicated than it seems. Crump said that it was the focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue in the back of the head. And so that suggests, with red discoloration, that there might have been some sort of injury. Crump did not elaborate on that. Now, we should say, and we are not medical professionals, but WebMD talks about this, and we've actually seen this in other autopsies, where when a body is put on a slab, that can cause discoloration. That can cause the pooling of blood. Now, we don't know that happened here, but we do know that this independent autopsy followed the official autopsy, where presumably Nolan Wells' body was put on a slab. So in terms of what caused this discoloration, this redness, Crump never elaborated. We certainly don't know, but there seem to be alternate theories here. Now, Crump said the cause and manner of death, according to this independent medical examiner, are still undetermined. He said there were problems conducting the autopsy, that the throat area had been removed, presumably by the medical examiner in the official autopsy, for some kind of further examination. And we have no idea what the official autopsy shows because it has not yet been revealed. This is the independent autopsy that we're talking about. Crump says that the medical examiner for the independent autopsy, although he couldn't determine cause and manner of death, could not rule out foul play. So there are not a lot of answers here. There are interesting facts, but the reasons behind what Crump is talking about have not been revealed yet. We don't know if those reasons are something that the independent medical examiner knows and has not yet revealed, whether there are going to be more tests that might show whether there was an injury to the head or whether this was pooling based on the body laying on a slab. We don't know. And we don't know what the official medical examiner is going to say regarding all of this. And it is possible, if it was pooling, that it's something that the official medical examiner didn't see, but the independent examiner did because of the length of time the body was laying on the slab and when the autopsies were performed. So we don't know that. Crump is reiterating that he wants videos, he wants information, he wants to know what happened to Nolan Wells. And he says that as you piece things together, listening to witnesses and looking at video, the picture is going to become clearer. He did not say this is a case of foul play. He did invoke the name of other people who have died as a result of racial murders, including Emmett Till. And he's not necessarily linking that with Nolan Wells, but he's certainly raising it. So this was a presentation given to the Mississippi chapter of the NAACP. Nolan Wells' mother and father both spoke, talking about the nightmare they're enduring and the fact that there are people actually accusing them of being racist, which is really kind of abhorrent because they have not really reached any public conclusion at all, one way or the other, about whether race plays a factor in this. So we will see, but right now, what we have is preliminary findings of a medical examiner, and it is unclear what caused that redness on Nolan Wells' skull. And hopefully, we are going to hear more about that, both from the independent and official medical examiners.
The preliminary results of an independent autopsy report in the death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells have been released. The cause and manner of death have been ruled undetermined, but civil rights attorney Ben Crump says foul play cannot be ruled out. Crump announced the findings during a press conference this morning where Nolan Wells' parents also pleaded for more transparency.
And new video may reveal the last moments Wells was seen alive. Investigators say he disappeared during a 4th of July boat trip with friends and was found dead 2 days later. Let's bring in Skylar Henry, who has been following this news conference today. Skylar, what have you learned about what has happened?
Sure, guys. Well, we are reviewing some of the notes that Attorney Crump put forth during this press conference. As you pointed out there, Vlad, the cause of Wells' death still undetermined pending an investigation, and that is sort of the crux of where we have been with this case from the very beginning, as not only the family of Nolan Wells, but those in the community have all called for transparency in this case and more clarity from the lead investigative agency, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, to try to put together a bit more clarity as it relates to a timeline in terms of what may have happened to the 18-year-old on that July 4th weekend. Crump went on to say that based off of the preliminary findings that Wells's body was too decomposed based off of the time the body was sent to Washington, D.C. for that third-party autopsy that was conducted by a well-accomplished pathologist that specializes in this sort of case. But the pathologist also found that the body had marks and also noticed discoloration, red discoloration on the back of his head. But that is something that isn't exactly uncommon, but also something that could potentially be tied to just the manner of which Wells's body was recovered in the or near the ocean in the first place. They are also saying that it is incredibly important to try to figure out what happened to Nolan in terms of him entering the water, whether that was something that was an accident, something that was on purpose. And then also they say that they are calling for more clarity from the medical examiner in Mississippi who conducted the first autopsy on Nolan Wells, saying that there could potentially be a bit more answers there as it relates to additional clues and findings, especially considering that they are still waiting for parts of his body, his throat and the back of his neck, something that wasn't a part of the second autopsy, to potentially give a bit more clarity in terms of Nolan's airway. Could he have possibly drowned? What were the circumstances around a possible drowning? And was it an accident at all? I think it's also important to stress here that based off of these preliminary findings, that there is also not a toxicology report yet. That is something that we are waiting on from the Mississippi medical examiner, something that they had said initially will take several weeks when this autopsy was conducted 2 weeks ago, in terms of that potentially giving us more clarity as well in terms of these findings. But as you pointed out, Jolene, new information that we have been seeing as it relates to this case includes that video that was sent into TMZ that that shows a man in similar blue trunks that match the photo of Nolan Wells that was also taken on that day. It could very well be some of the last footage of him seen alive. We know that his friends left Horn Island, which is about 10 miles off of Mississippi's Gulf Coast, about 30 minutes or so after that video was taken, or excuse me, about an hour and a half after that video was taken, because they were concerned about the boat that they were on taking on water. And so there are a lot of unanswered questions, especially from Nolan's parents, because they say that his cell phone and keys were found with the friends, not with Nolan, who they say chose to stay behind on Horn Island to quote unquote meet with a girl. We know that his friends have cooperated with law enforcement officials up until this time, but officials have not given us any sort of indication in terms of what may be happening going forward in terms of the clarity and timeline in this case. We should point out that Crump and his legal team are also asking for this pathologist and his findings to be presented to a grand jury. We also know that this case will be going to a grand jury to determine whether any criminal charges should be brought forth at all in this case. But guys, obviously still a lot of unanswered questions here.
Skylar Henry in Atlanta, thank you so much.
Let's bring in CBS News contributor Jessica Levinson to talk more about this. So Jessica, what you just heard from Skylar, what we know from what Attorney Crump has released, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that what Skylar said in terms of unanswered questions is exactly right. What we have today is, frankly, more information, but more information that is undetermined in terms of cause of death, in terms of exactly what happened in those last few minutes and hours before Mr. Wells did die. And so what we have here is an independent autopsy. As Skylar said, it's not a toxicology report. There were aspects of this independent autopsy that were, I don't want to say compromised, but made more difficult because there was a first autopsy. And at this point, I think we're just at a place where you can't rule anything in or out. I know for people who want answers, that's difficult, but by definition, undetermined means exactly that.
There is this new footage released of Wells in the hours before he was found dead. What do you think investigators are hoping to piece together with that potential evidence?
So I think at this point, investigators are just trying to have a timeline of what happened. As we heard thus far, friends are cooperating. They're talking about why the phone was left on the boat, whether I think part of the reason that we're interested in this footage is exactly where he was at different times, whether he was in swim trunks or clothed. Reporting indicates that he was found face down, fully clothed. They're just trying to piece together before the time of death what happened together.
All right, Jessica Levinson, with that legal analysis for us, as always, we appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, y'all, we're clipping. Let's go to the next one.
Let's bring in former police officer and Black Lines Security CEO Brandon Tatum. Brandon, great to have you. I think you'll find this is kind of a biased narrative, but I'll let you decide that. Watch.
This pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he said based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant.
Brandon, he said you can't rule out foul play. What he left out is there is zero evidence of foul play.
First of all, Benjamin Crump needs to learn how to read. And I think that he was very disrespectful to the family by even doing this presentation unprepared. It is asinine that he would interject race into a situation where there's no evidence of race and there's no evidence of foul play. I think that every single person under the sound of my voice wants to know what happened to Nolan Wells. But what we don't want is for people to interject hatred into a community that's struggling right now to deal with the fact that a young man who had an incredibly bright future, who was—
It's funny that this buckethead bitch, I said buckethead bitch. It's funny that he says that. If it's funny, hey Sugar Anderson, please stop with racism. Okay. All right, we will. We ain't never started it, honey. But welcome. It's funny that Officer Tatum, and I don't even like to call him Officer, Mr. Tatum. It's funny that he says it's sad that Crump brought racism into this when we know he pretty much hates his own race. And the sad part about it is it don't have a whole lot to do with his racist. It has a whole lot to do. Okay, let me slow down. It has a whole lot to do with the fact that he hates himself. He hates himself, and being as though he's black, he hates black people. You know, and I don't.
We love everybody would be taken at such a young age. But this is what they do, Trace. They go into these communities, they push racism because it's the only—
Who is they? Who is they, Buckethead? Who is they? You know you are part of they. You just don't own it. This is delusions for me. Well, let me show you. Let me show you what hate is. There you go.
way that they can still keep up the grift, because we know, and me actually going to Mississippi, I spoke to many citizens there. I spoke to all of the kids that were involved in this, and they are good, quality, young people raised right, and the community isn't rooted in racism like maybe it was several decades ago. But Benjamin Crump has to come out and do this instead of being honest and interviewing every party involved to get the full spectrum before we get out and run his mouth.
And Brendan, I want to play. This is because you also talked to Nolan Wells' best friend, and I want to play some of this sound because this is really a big part of the story that is being left out, and you got to the bottom of this. It is well worth a watch. Listen to this very closely.
The statements that are out there made it appear that it was just you, Nolan, and probably 2 or 3 other guys, and y'all are the only ones that went out to this island.
And that's completely incorrect. I mean, Horn Island on the 4th of July is the most popular day to be on the water.
Throughout
the entire Gulf.
You see how ignorance do. Nobody who's been watching this case thinks that it was just him, Nolan, and a few other guys at that island. We've seen video. We've seen pictures. There's nobody on the planet that's paying attention to this case feels as though they were out there on that island by themselves. Just flat out lies, flat out manipulation, flat out the wrong narrative, flat out full of shit. Pretty much. Mars, be on the alert because I ain't got time. Thank you, Miss Lena. Just flat out lies. Out the rip. Nobody thinks that. Idiot.
Nolan and probably 2 or 3 other guys, and y'all are the only ones that went out to this island.
And that's completely incorrect. I mean, Horn Island on the 4th of July is the most popular day to be on the water throughout the entire Gulf. So next, and I mean, that's just how it was. Everybody's drinking, I mean, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves, and it's a big party, basically, big party.
Yeah, and you had witnesses, Brendan, that were saying that Nolan stayed on the island because he was with a girl, and he said he would take the next boat.
And you know what's amazing to me? The things that these people focus on. You know what I'm saying? The things that they focus on and not focus on. They don't want to talk about the fact that, they was out here on this island underage drinking, drug use and all that. They don't want to talk about that. They don't place no emphasis on that. Whenever this guy's being interviewed, anybody else being interviewed, they don't want to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to talk about the fact that they was out there underage drinking and drug use. Whole grown folks out there. Hey, Meryl. How come he didn't ask him why they didn't come forth before Nolan's body was found? And how come his mom had to track his phone? Come on, that black bastard is just trying to make a night. Exactly, with the white folk. He ain't the only one. I seen a girl that looked like a straight up. She looked like. It's amazing. It's just amazing to me. But I ain't gonna go into that. I'm gonna let that go. But you make valid good point, Angela. They're not gonna ask them type of questions. They're not gonna ask him how did they end up with his phone and why didn't they take his phone to his mom and why they didn't take the keys and things like that. They're not gonna ask that. He's not gonna ask none of that. But we're gonna see. Now let me digress from that, okay? Because like I say, we watched part 1 on yesterday. We're gonna watch part 2 today, but we're actually gonna watch both parts and break it down because I didn't do a whole lot of breaking it down yesterday.
Home and these guys left.
I mean, that's just how it was. Everybody's drinking, I mean, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves. It's a big party, basically. Big party.
Yeah, and you had witnesses, Brendan, that were saying that Nolan stayed on the island because he was with a girl, and he said he would take the next boat home, and these guys left. It's not like they did anything nefarious. Pick it up from there.
Well, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Warren for being brave and showing courage to come out, because while I was there, the young men were getting death threats, people trying to show up at their houses, but it doesn't appear that they did anything wrong. They showed me, I went out to Horn Island, they gave a very clear articulation that they left. They had Life 360 evidence, they had text message evidence, you name it, they had it. They've already talked to investigators. Some of the young men took an equivalent of a lie detector test and all passed, and they had nothing to do with this. And let me.
How do you know this? This is what they told you, you ignoramus. How come ain't nobody? How do you know they took? What is something like a lie detector? What is this he talking about? What is he lying about, y'all? Listen.
People trying to show up at their houses, but it doesn't appear that they did anything wrong. They showed me, I went out to Horn Island. They gave a very clear articulation.
You went out to Horn Island. Who the fuck was in Horn Island? Who was at Horn Island after this incident, Officer Tatum? Who was at Horn Island when you went to Horn Island? Because when these young folk was on Horn Island, you went out there. You went out to Horn Island and spoke to who? The trees? The sand? The water? Who did you talk to at Horn Island when you went? Because these people was way gone when you went to Horn Island. Let's listen to another lie.
That they left, they had, while I was there, the young men were getting death threats, people trying to show up at their houses, but it doesn't appear that they did anything wrong. They showed me, I went out to Horn Island, they gave a very clear articulation that they left. They had Life 360 evidence, they had text message evidence.
What, how come you know about Life 360 evidence and text evidence and the police don't know? How do you have what the police don't have? Huh?
You name it, they had it. They've already talked to investigators. Some of the young
They've already talked to investigators. Okay.
Young men took an equivalent of a lie detector test.
Some of the young men took the equivalent of a lie detector. What in the fuck is that? Them saying nothing happened and the people believing them. Have you ever been let me ask you something, Daniel. Have you ever been kicked out of chat? Don't come here asking me no questions. I don't know you. How come? Can somebody tell me what that is? What in the hell is an equivalent of a lie detector test? Well, what is that? You know, that white demon wife he got. She got a lot to do with how he feels. Family is going to justice.
Gave a very clear articulation that they left. They had Life 360 evidence. They had text message evidence. You name it, they had it. They've already talked to investigators. Some of the young men took an equivalent of a lie detector test and all passed, and they had nothing to do with this. And let me tell you this, Trace. These young men were hurting. They literally had tears in their eyes.
Yeah, they were so hurting they didn't even show up at the funeral. Okay.
Talking about their best friend who had died. And it's a shame that these race hustlers came out and did what they did because Warren and others couldn't even go to the funeral because they were afraid somebody would attack them at the funeral, and they were not welcome there. And you got to think,
no, they ain't welcome now. Hell no, they're not welcome now. Which one is it though? Were they afraid or were they not welcome? Which one is it? Which one was it? You lying ass. See, people just, listen to people talking. They be talking so fast and telling so many lies. They don't ever break it down. Which one was it? They didn't go to the funeral because they were afraid, or they didn't go because they were not welcome. Which one is it?
These are Nolan's really close friends. He spent the night at their house. He went out to...
If they were so close, why in the fuck did they have his phone and his keys and them parents had to track his stuff down? Why in the fuck? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what real friends do, right? Real friends, that night when they realized that no one had heard from Nolan and Nolan had not been seen since they were on that island, they would have went over to his parents' house. They would have been gathered at his parents' house. They would have took his property. They would have drove his car. They would have took his phone, and they would have went to that young man's house and showed his parents some respect by turning over his property and assisting them in trying to figure out what the hell went on. That's what real friends would have done. Huh? Let's not talk about real friends. Shut the fuck up. Anybody with clear with a brain knows that these boys had something to do with this shit because of their actions afterwards. It's not even about what happened. It's about how they behave afterwards. Okay?
4th of July with them. And Nolan was a grown man. We all know he was with a young lady. He wasn't trying to go back at 4:30 with these boys. He was trying to hang out like any other teenager would do. And instead of finding out the fact patterns that will lead us to understand what happened to Nolan, they're pushing racism, and it is a shame. And these people should be sued. They're socks.
I'm not pushing racism. That's not what I'm doing. Do I feel like you I'm not pushing racism over here. Racism is brought up and it's talked about, but I'm not pushing it. I'm pushing those boys did something to this young man. They did. They did. Mm-hmm.
At the vitriolic stuff that they've been pushing with no evidence.
Brandon Tatum, you did exceptional work out there. Thank you for coming on the show, sir. We very much appreciate it.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube.
All right, let's see what's next, y'all. Let me see. I'm going to skip her. Let's see what this was talking about.
Reporting live from my left, right plus news, I'm Dan Agua. Breaking news coming from the New York Post. It's a sick world we're living in. It's terrible. Nolan was my best friend. Those are the words from one of Nolan Wells' white friends, Warren Hudson, who has been publicly criticized for weeks after Wells' mysterious death and disappearance. Hudson, for the first time ever, would break his silence and appears to be ready to respond to accusations that he, along with others, may have fatally attacked Wells at some point during a trip to Horn Island, Mississippi on July 4. If you can recall, Wells would end up going on a trip to Horn Island with a group of friends, including Hudson, in which later that day his friends would return, but he would not. Now, this would go on to spark immediate questions and concerns from Wells' parents. After a 2-day search and rescue, Wells would be found washed ashore on July 6, around where he was last seen. Now, what would occur after his disappearance from several people, including his family, would be considered questionable, such as Wells allegedly leaving his phone with his friends while wanting to stay back on the island because he met a girl he liked, or his keys and phone not being immediately given to his parents, in which Wells' phone would reportedly have to be tracked down by a family friend. Now, in his new interview with the New York Post, it appears that Hudson is pushing back on claims that he would do something to his longtime friend, along with the dynamic of race being in connection to the case. He would continue with, "There's no facts out, just a lot of rumors. That's just how the internet is today. That's really it. It's horrible." Now, at this time, it doesn't appear to be a lengthy interview, as the 2 quotes mentioned in this report are the only things that have been released from the story, but it clearly shows that Hudson is denying all claims made against him. Now, just a few after that would be released on Tuesday night, we would hear more from Hudson, as he would have his first on-camera interview with political commentator Officer Tatum. In the interview, Warren would describe Wells as a brother and revealed that it was nearly 30 people in their friend group that would travel to Horn Island that day.
We had roughly 20 to 30 people coming on 3 separate boats with us. And so we were all following each other out there as one big group, 20 or 30 people spread out, where we all met at the dock before, and then we departed to go to Horn Island. It wasn't just, there were so many people, we had to split up between 3 boats, and we all left and all got there at the same time. I mean, Horn Island on the 4th of July is the most popular day to be on the water on, throughout the entire Gulf Coast. So roughly probably 2 to 3, maybe even 4,000 people out there. There were boats lined up off the island. I mean, there was 1 rowboat, and then there was another rowboat, and then there was a 3rd rowboat. Yeah. I mean, there was people lined up all up and down the island. So we were parked on the north side, on the west tip. It wasn't just there, but just where we were, I mean, there was easily 1,000 people. It wasn't just us. Nolan was on White Pyron's 22 Triton on the way out.
Now, at one point in the interview, Warren would go on to express that he felt Nolan appeared fine every time they would speak on the island that day.
I had a couple conversations with Nolan that day, and I talked to him and a couple of my other buddies in a group. I was not focused on anyone solely, like looking and pointing anyone out. I mean, I was talking to my friends that I haven't seen in a while from high school. I was talking to people I knew from college. I was talking to, everybody my age and even people older. I mean, it was just a regular thing. We're all used to this. We've been out to the islands before. My buddies don't just go out to the island on 4th of July, but they go out, every weekend. I talked to Nolan, and, Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody. And I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations. Nolan was making me laugh. I had a couple conversations with Nolan and Javon. Nolan, my buddy James. I talked to Nolan a couple of times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking to Nolan the whole day. I mean, there was hundreds of people I knew out there. So.
Now, just as Hudson would appear to describe departing the island at 4:30 p.m., as mentioned in reports, the interview will be cut short in order to tease a future clip. Now, if you can recall, Warren's stepmother, Judge Ashley Cole, would speak out on behalf of Warren when Wells' body was first discovered. On Facebook, she would say, "No one in our family is trying in any way to impede with the investigation by law enforcement or to otherwise hamper the family and law enforcement's quest for answers." Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Now, we have to note the timing of Hudson's response appears to be somewhat calculated, given that Wells would be laid to rest on Monday, and on Wednesday being the day attorney Benjamin Crump and Wells' family will now release the preliminary findings from their independent autopsy. From the looks of this, Hudson may be one to get ahead of another wave of accusations that will be made against him as the early findings of the independent autopsy are.
Isn't that what I told y'all? Isn't that what I told y'all? These people do, they how did I say it? They always try to stay one step ahead. You know what I said, y'all? I've been saying that since the beginning. Everything is strategic. They know exactly. Now, tell me why in the hell is a stepchild of a judge out here giving interviews during the ongoing investigation? Can somebody explain that to me? How much sense does it make for Warren, the stepchild of a judge, right, to be out here giving interviews in the middle of an ongoing investigation? Right, Malika? Think about it. Why? And just like this guy pointed out, shout out to Hype. That's the name of the channel. I can't remember what he said his name was, but It's no coincidence that he gave that interview to Officer Tatum. Everybody knows he's a black boy, want to be a white boy. Whole thing. There's no coincidence about that. There's no coincidence that he's talking, since this autopsy report has come out. There's no coincidence about nothing that's going on with this shit as far as the publicity. And that's on both sides. I'm not just talking about it on that side, I'm talking about on Nolan's side too as well. I'm gonna keep it a bug. I ain't finna play. That's why I say I don't make it about race over here. I make it about the truth and what makes sense. Right? Right.
Given that Wells Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. on July 4th, and they had an.
It's amazing how the boat was taking on water, and we now know. Hold on, y'all. All right, y'all. So listen, it's amazing to me how. Let's listen to that again. So I can get my thought.
On behalf of Warren when Wells' body was first discovered. On Facebook, she would say, "No one in our family is trying in any way to impede with the investigation by law enforcement or to otherwise hamper the family and law enforcement's quest for answers." Warren was interviewed by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department and cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water, and they had an issue with the bilge.
Oh yeah, as far as the boat taking on water, so we now know because of what GPS, we now know that the boat made several stops before actually docking, right? So if a boat is taking on water, right? So why was these extra stops made? See, that's where the investigation needs to go. They need to be investigating these different stops that this boat made. You know what I'm saying? Like, go to these houses. The $1 million mansion that they went to, they stopped at. Yeah. See, I don't know what the people are investigating. Like, I don't know what the cops are looking at or nothing like that. I just know how I think as a person who's been following law and crime for years, right? So all these stops, these several stops that this boat made, don't y'all think the investigation needs to be, they need to be asking them, like, why did y'all make these stops if the boat was taking on water and y'all needed to get out the water? Why all these stops before the boat was actually docked? Because to be honest, if the boat was in that bad, in bad shape, the first place you stopped at, you should have stayed there, and the boat should have been docked and driven from there instead of you making another stop and then another stop.
Nolan made a decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Now, we have to note the timing of Hudson's response appears to be somewhat calculated, given that Wells would be laid to rest on Monday, and on Wednesday being the day Attorney Benjamin Crump and Wells' family will now release the preliminary findings from their independent autopsy. From the looks of this, Hudson may be one to get ahead of another wave of accusations that will be made against him as the early findings of the independent autopsy are set to be released. As mentioned, Wells will be laid to rest on Monday, and one of the biggest questions that came up during his service, did any of his accused friends attended? Upon looking online from photos and reported accounts, it does not appear that none of the accused would attend the 18-year-old's memorial service. Now, former Mississippi judge and attorney Carlos Moore, who has been following the case and speaking out, would document his travels attending Wells' service in person, where he would run into some of Wells' other friends, and would further shed light on feelings about Nolan being left that day. Moore would write, "Before leaving, I was happy to meet and greet two of Nolan's real friends, as depicted here. Real friends show up in moments like these and never desert someone on an island with no answers or accountability. Proud of these guys and praying for their continued strength as they navigate life without their guy, Nolan."
We do know that justice swings one way when it comes to white people and another way when it comes to others. Talk a little bit about what can be done with this judge speaking out prematurely as a sitting judge. What could be done to her?
I understand that there have already been judicial complaints filed against her with the Mississippi Commission on Judicial Performance. They should
investigation, and they would make recommendations to the Mississippi Supreme Court on how she should be just.
Will we know anything about that goal?
We will not learn it until something is filed with the Supreme Court. The commission's investigation is fine. So once it becomes public record, once it's filed, the recommendations are filed with the Supreme Court, and we will know this when we are here.
Now, as mentioned by Warren's stepmother, he is saying that Nolan wanted to stay back as a way to push back on any claims that he was deserted. From the looks of the case, it appears that Warren and his family are the only ones of the accused talking and defending themselves from any unfavorable allegations. It is unclear if Wells' other friends from the trip also plan to speak out. Now, for many, the findings from Wells' autopsy will help narrow things down on what happened to him that day and answer whether it was an accidental drowning with no witnesses or someone on the island would fatally harm him. The first results of Wells' independent autopsy is set to be announced this morning at the 117th NAACP National Convention in Chicago. Let's talk about it more in the comments below. Now that we've heard from Warren Hudson, how do you feel about his solo response? And should the other friends from that trip finally come forward to tell their side of what happened that day? Reporting live from Ivers Club, Fight Plus News.
All right, let's go to the next one. Let's see. Do we have any more clips? All right, so what I'm about to do, let's listen to. We're going to listen to both of those interviews, y'all. It's a part 1 and a part 2. But let's continue to listen to what other content creators had to say. Let's go to Chronicle Speech. I know that's my girl. That's my girl. Let's go to her. Let me see.
Breaking news was announced yesterday by civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who represents Nolan Wells' family. Crump said preliminary findings from the family's independent autopsy would be released this morning. Now, we have all been anxiously awaiting these results, hoping they would provide more answers about what happened to Nolan on that fateful 4th of July.
Who was that? Miss Lynn? Tanya, get rid of Angela. I mean, you flat out said, and you were very polite, Angela, please don't use the words kill or murder in the chat things. And she comes back and she types, not drowning, just murder. So escort her out the door. Okay, I think Carlos got disbarred for talking about a case after the fact when Miss Ashley is able to still practice. Right. He said that, Malika. He said that he was let go as a judge because he spoke out on the case. So you're right about that. Mm-hmm.
When he tragically lost his life. But while we wait for those findings, even more breaking news has emerged. In my last video, we revealed that Warren sat down for an interview with Officer Tatum. Now, Warren, of course, is the stepson of Judge Ashley Cole. Considering that she was the first parent to publicly come forward in an attempt to clear his name, I suppose it would make sense that Warren would be the first of the young men who were there with Nolan that day to give an interview. I also told you yesterday in my video that I did not expect any hard questions. Officer Tatum has repeatedly shown that he is far more comfortable tearing down members of his own community than holding certain people accountable, and judging by what we have seen, it appears I was absolutely right. Now, I'm not saying that this should have been an accusatory style interview. Warren has not been charged with a crime and he deserves the opportunity to share his account. However, hard questions still should have been asked. Instead, we saw joking and an almost casual attitude towards underage drinking without even asking who provided the alcohol to these teenagers.
You know, I mean, that's just how it was. Everybody's drinking, you know, I mean, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves. And, you know, it's a big party, basically. Big party.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good time. Just like anybody would imagine, 18-year-olds, probably 20-year-olds, college students, out on the island, women, you probably had alcohol. So y'all having a good time.
Yeah, of course.
This is exactly why this interview felt less like an attempt to uncover the truth and more like an effort to take.
Had there been a bunch of African-American underage drinkers, it would have been something totally different. Like if the shoe was on the other foot and Nolan was white and the guys, they were black and it was underage drinking, he would have been calling them all type of, you know, juvenile delinquents and this and that and the third. I've seen it. He's full of shit. He's a confused. Let me stop. I'll just let that go. But he's full of shit. He's full of shit.
Students out on the island, women, you probably had alcohol. So y'all having a good time.
Yeah, of course.
This is exactly why this interview felt less like an attempt to uncover the truth and more like an effort to take some of the pressure off of these young men. If the goal was truly to seek justice for Nolan Wells and determine what happened to him, why weren't the obvious follow-up questions asked? Most importantly, why sit down with someone who has absolutely nothing to do with the official investigation and provide him with all the information before giving the same answers directly to Nolan's mother? Nolan's family should not have to learn details surrounding their son's final hours through a YouTube interview. If Warren and the others truly, genuinely wanted to clear up information and and help uncover the truth, Nolan's mother and the investigators would have received the full account first.
Absolutely.
Not only that, if these young men were truly Nolan's
Why they
friends,
didn't sit down with the parents? Like, honestly, like I said, the night that they discovered that Nolan was missing, why didn't this group of friends drive his car, take his keys, take his phone and his car to Nolan's parents' house and sit down and have a conversation with them? Instead, they lied, they evaded. They're full of shit.
or if Nolan was like a brother to them.
Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother.
So he was like, I don't know, man. I know it's not my brother. I said, well, he was like, I don't know where the keys at. Nolan was like my brother. I said, well, if Nolan was like your brother, I'm his father. I'm here to get his car. Could you go to your room and see if you can find his key?
Then they would have had absolutely nothing to hide, right? Well, why was the Cajun Navy reportedly denied permission to allow its search dogs to examine the 3 boats?
We offered our dogs to bring to the boat. There's only one thing that will clean blood off of a boat. I'm not going to mention it because it'll give people ideas. But I doubt if somebody would have done something, they would have used this chemical to remove the blood. So we've offered our services to bring the dogs around the boat of everyone that was potentially involved in this. So the federal land thing is a big deal. So the body being dumped, I would say that let us bring the dog to the boat. Let us bring it. They said the boat was clean that night or the day before. There's only one thing that's going to clean it. If there's blood in that boat, we'll find it. If you came with these guys and they didn't bring you home, that is not uncommon. So I think there's where the focus needs to be. A, on let's get this notion that there was a body dumped. Let's bring the dogs to that boat, and we'd be willing to offer our services to go check that out. And B, these guys in the boat that he came with, it's okay that they left him on the island or they didn't bring him in. But yeah, as far as the body being dumped, our services are offered and they've been offered to go bring the dogs around that boat.
So not only are they not being transparent with allowing these search dogs from the Cajun Navy to go on these boats that had absolutely nothing to do with Nolan's death, but also the story about the boat allegedly getting ready to sink and having to be towed back.
For sinking, can you all please count?
It's also not making sense. No one has come forward to say that they saw the boat be towed 2.75 miles, and then the tow company is denying everything. Take a listen to this.
One on the boat reported a mechanical failure to a private towing company.
I want to get this boat on sink and towed back.
The tow reached out to a local boat captain to help.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
But the company says it did not end up towing the boat, saying to NBC News in a statement, before assistance was rendered, the vessel owner advised that sea tow was no longer needed because help had already been obtained. Sea tow's involvement concluded at that point.
Yet, according to the GPS coordinates, the boat could not make it off the island and had to be towed by sea tow, allegedly, off of the northwestern tip of the island, 2.75 miles before normal operation resumed.
You don't find that suspicious?
Judge Ashley Cole's stepmother said they left around 30 minutes after the boat was taking on water and they had an issue with the bilge pump. However, Warren's birth mother said that Wyatt's boat started to fill with water, ended up breaking down and was towed in. These stories are not matching up. No one is wanting their boat searched as if they have something to hide. The tow company is denying claims of towing you guys 2.75 miles, as you said they did, and a body that has no bloat as it should have had it been in the water for 2 days mysteriously washes up exactly where these boys left.
You don't find that suspicious?
I know that they left and they had nothing to do with this. And instead of them saying and standing up for these boys and saying, look, we don't know what happened. We want justice for Nolan. These boys didn't have no involvement. Instead, they want to make it about race. And it is a shame. And acting like this is a whole racial thing and Mississippi is full of racists. There ain't nobody in this city that I've heard from, talked to, even when I was around going to the restaurants here. There's not racial tension in Mississippi.
This is who interviews the boys, right?
You got to be a dumb fuck. Like, you honestly got to be a dumb. Like, you got to. Oh, God, I hope they pay him well. I hope whatever he got going on, baby, with these people, I hope they compensate his dumb ass very well. You got to be out of your fucking mind to say that there's no racial tension in Mississippi. That right there, for me, that statement coming out of his mouth, I don't even see how anybody could support this nut. This is a nut. Yeah, he called Mississippi a city. Come on, Mr. What's your name, Mr. Pokerus? He called Mississippi a city. And he said that, hey, baby Candy, he says there's no racial tension. Is he okay? Boy. Oh, I guess once you get that white coochie, you would just say anything, huh? Oh, my God.
Oh, man. Instead, they want to make it about race. And it is a shame. And acting like this is a whole racial thing and Mississippi is full of racists. There ain't nobody in this city that I've heard from, talked to, even when I was around going to the restaurants here. There's not racial tension in Mississippi.
This is who interviews the boys, right? Okay.
Right.
So before we get into more of the interview, let's first hear from Judge Greg Mathis and his take on what happened to Nolan Wells.
On a boat ride to a pretty much resort island, not necessarily just a fun island off the coast of Mississippi.
Exactly.
And 4 of them left and went and had fun, and only 3 returned. They then found Nolan dead. His 3 friends that he had come with in the boat had gone and left in the boat and claimed that Nolan stayed behind by himself. And additionally, however, and this is where the first question comes in with me, they say he left his cell phone. They have his cell phone. They had it in their possession. Okay, so if your buddy says to you, I'm leaving, you all go back. I'm staying by myself. No friends, just me wandering around. And then you see that he had left his cell phone. So you say, in the boat.
Right.
And instead of taking it back to a friend who's on the island by himself, and by the way, did you ask him how he was getting home? So instead of going back, you couldn't be that far off because the phone right in the boat. Say an hour or 2. If you're a real friend, you'll drive back on that recreational hour or 2 on the boat, having fun, to give your man his phone. Because if he's out there by himself, no question about it, 90% white in the state of Mississippi that has a history of demonizing and black men and killing them in the civil rights era. Most of
but Tate said there's no racial tension. That's what Tate said, Judge Mathis. Come on.
Hour or 2. If you're a real friend, you'll drive back on that recreational hour or 2 on the boat, having fun, to give your man his phone. Because if he's out there by himself, no question about it, 90% white in the state of Mississippi that has a history of demonizing and black men and killing them in the civil rights era. Most of the civil rights killings occurred in Mississippi, including Medgar Evers, including our dear young brother from Mississippi who was killed, and several others. And so we know that Mississippi has a history of demonizing and marginalizing black men. And so the question became, what is the investigation going to be? Well, the police immediately accepted the version of the 3 young men that returned. Now, here you are, you're supposed to be the police. And I just deduced it, and I deduced it not just now, but I had deduced it immediately after seeing it in the media. And I'm not an investigator, I'm a lawyer and a judge, but an investigator.
But it's common sense. It's anybody that's thinking logically. The whole cell phone aspect of it it's enough. It is enough. Like I said, these boys' actions after this happened tells a lot. It tells a story. Period.
That is, a police investigator / detective has investigative techniques that would have immediately thrown into question what occurred, and common sense throws into question what occurred. And that's where we're at now.
Yet this former police officer from day one has seen nothing wrong.
I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never gotten an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
And then I want you to then walk me through 4th of July this year when the incident happened.
Okay. 4th of July, everybody was out there. Like I said, like Nolan was always trying to go on the boat, trying to go out there with us. And he was always welcome to come. Nolan was always out there with us. And, but started 4th of July, my buddies and I had talked about this week's upcoming, everybody's very, very excited for the 4th of July from down here. Like it's a big thing. I actually stayed with Nolan that night at my buddy's house, and I woke up at my buddy's house, and we went to McDonald's, got food. Nolan was not with me.
Now, at that moment, he should have asked him, who is your buddy? If we're trying to prove these boys' innocence, tell it all. Now, if you recall, Nolan's parents said that Nolan stayed the night at Jack's house. That's Eli Jack's.
Well, first I ran to my house, then I went to McDonald's and came back, and the boat was already hooked up to my truck. My buddy Wyatt and I went, and with my buddy, we went, filled the top of the boat off, loaded it down with ice, and just got everything ready. Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach.
So now he mentions Wyatt bringing a smaller boat. So now we know about 2 boats. But my thing is this, why are we only getting the GPS coordinates of 1?
He's an 18-foot Palm Beach, and Wyatt, I drove the boat from Fort Bayou boat launch to my buddy's grandparents' house, and that's where we all plan to meet up.
So I'm going to jump ahead just for a moment just to get clarity on Fort Bayou, although it's probably not going to clear up much. So he mentions Fort Bayou's boat launch. So it sounds like he drove to the boat launch with his car, detached the boat, and then drove the boat on water to Eli's grandparents' home. Jack's grandfather died in 2006. Grandmother died in February of this year. So Jack's grandparents are no longer living. However, they left this immaculate $1 million home that sits right on the water. And this is exactly where the boys took off from.
You know what? Amazing. That statement right there, it gave me a cause for pause on yesterday and today when I heard it again, but I never said anything. He makes it seem like Nolan was begging to go to the island with them. You know what I'm saying? He's making it seem like, that's what it sounds like to me. He's making it seem like Nolan just every time they went to the island, he begged to go or he wanted to go so bad. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that Nolan didn't want to go, because if he didn't want to go, he wouldn't have been there, right? But he's trying to make it seem like, oh, Nolan just begged us. Every time we went to the island, he begged us, could he tag along? See what I'm saying? Now he'll tag along. You feel me? This is what they do. This is what they do.
This is the starting point. So Warren again mentions parking his car at Fort Bayou. We kept asking, what did Fort Bayou have to do with anything? It still doesn't make any sense to me. This broken down boat that was taken on water, left Horn Island, didn't get towed like they said it did, went back to Eli Jack's grandparents' house, went to Fort Bayou. I don't know who they dropped off or what they dropped off, because you were allegedly not on that boat. 15 minutes later, went right back to Eli Jack's grandparents' house. An hour later, docked at Fort Bayou and was then driven back to Wyatt's house.
And you say we all, who you talking about? You, Nolan, and how many people are going to meet you guys there?
We had roughly 20 to 30 people coming on 3 separate boats with us. And so we were all following each other out there as one big group. It wasn't just.
If y'all enjoying the content, please double tap the screen and like the live. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, so you'll be notified each and every time I go live, okay? Because this right here is just beginning. We just not get started. So y'all make sure y'all double tap the screen, like the live, and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you.
Me and Nolan and a couple of my buddies. There was 20 or 30 people spread out where we all met at the dock before, and then we departed to go to Horn Island. It wasn't just a couple of us. I mean, there were so many people, we had to split up between 3 boats, and we all left and all got there at the same time.
We know about 2 boats so far, but the GPS only has documentation of 1. What happened?
What boat were you on?
Let me say something. I'm sure you probably already gone, but I'm gonna make sure you gone. Now you shut the fuck up. How about that? Go to another stream.
Was Nolan on?
Nolan was on Wyatt's 22 Triton on the way out. I went with my buddy Bart because we had a lot of friends from college coming down, and I called Bart that morning. I was like, hey man, can you take your boat out? And he's like,
it's amazing to me. Now I am so curious as who this friend is, who name he wouldn't call, because he's calling other names. He's saying other names, but this is one particular friend. When he refers to that friend, he's not saying his name. That's a little weird to me. But okay, I'm sure it's gonna come out. I'm sure it all is gonna come out.
Well, my dad decided not to go, and I'll take the boat. And I'll take you and your friends. Of course, I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and I mean, I rode out there with Bart and a lot of the girls that go to college with my friends and I, and no one rode out on the Triton. And then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There's 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton, and then there was 8 or 9 people on the Triton, and then there was the rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line, which is 24 tide line. So I mean, we followed each other out, and I mean, it was calm. It was calm. On the way back, it was a little more rough, but it was not anything all my buddies' boats couldn't handle, or like it wasn't like we were getting really beat up or anything. I mean, it was pretty calm. We got there. I helped my buddies tie the boats up because the tide line was right here, the Palm Beach was in the middle, and then the Triton was on the outer side.
And so where's Nolan in this? You know, you guys out there, the friend groups out there, 3 boats full of people that came out there that seem to be the closest friend group.
Right.
Where's Nolan in this in comparison to where you and others are at?
Well, you know, I had a couple conversations with Nolan. That I talked to Nolan, and you know, Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody. And I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him.
Meanwhile, one of the last people to see Nolan Wells alive is speaking out to Inside Edition today.
I'd say he's pretty hammered. He would slur his words. His movement was slow.
And I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations. But I talked to Nolan a couple times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking to Nolan the whole day. I mean, there was hundreds of people I knew out there. So
Now, the video ends with Officer Tatum asking Warren what happened that caused the group to leave Horn Island so abruptly. Conveniently, we do not hear Warren's answer, so I guess the part will be saved for part 2. Now, I am still waiting to see this so-called earth-shattering evidence that supposedly proves the innocence of the people who were last seen with Nolan. So far, the interview has provided background information and an explanation of how they arrived to Horn Island, but it has not answered the most important questions about Nolan's final known moments, why the 3 boats left around the same time, or what happened after they returned without him. Until then, we are only moments away from the release of the preliminary findings from the family's independent autopsy. Those findings may finally provide more concrete answers about what happened to Nolan and help determine how his family and legal team will move forward as they continue to seek truth and justice in the midst of this unimaginable tragedy. What I need to do is hear from you. What do you think about everything going on with the Nolan Wells case? Leave a comment and we'll talk about it down below.
All right, let's move on. Let's go. We still strolling. Let's see. Nolan. Let's see what this one's talking about.
Deleted something from the cell phone that just seemed. There are significant new developments in the mysterious death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells that we want to talk about tonight. Now, Wells disappeared after boating with friends on July 4th weekend. Days later, his body was found in the water near Horn Island off Mississippi's Gulf Coast. And while investigators have said that drowning appears to be the preliminary cause of death, even though the official findings from the autopsy haven't been released, his family has continued to raise questions, right? Why did he go off on his own? Why didn't he have his cell phone? How could no one help? How could no one notice? Well, today, the Jackson County District Attorney met face-to-face with Nolan's parents and their legal team for the first time. And after that meeting, the family announced that once investigators complete their work, this case is going to be presented to a grand jury. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean charges are coming, but it does seem to suggest that jurors are going to review the evidence to determine whether any criminal charges should be filed. The family says the DA also made clear that no decisions about possible charges are going to be made until the sheriff's investigation is complete. And there's also another major development, and this involves one of the most important pieces of evidence in this case, Nolan's cell phone. The phone was reportedly with Nolan's friends. The family says that they believe content may have been removed from the device before it was returned. Now, the phone is going to apparently undergo a joint forensic examination with both law enforcement and the family's independent experts reviewing the device together. They hope it can provide critical answers about Nolan's final hours. I want to bring in Dante Mills, a national trial attorney at Mills Legal. Good to see you, sir. Significant that the family met with the DA, but potential grand jury. Does that signify to you that there's criminal culpability here? Jesse, not yet. Listen, this is every parent's worst nightmare. You have your child goes out with friends and everybody comes back except your child. So I understand the position they're taking where they want answers. They want to know why this tragic situation happened, and they're willing to do anything to get those answers. And I think rightfully so. Any parent will feel the same way. But let's not jump to conclusions here. We also can't look at what the family is saying and kind of take that as law, because they're going to hear investigators talk the way they kind of want to ingest the information. So the investigators are saying, they're saying, listen, we're doing an investigation. We plan on moving forward. However, the evidence shows, the family can come out of that thinking, well, there has to be something there. So clearly they're going to have something to present to the grand jury. And to be clear, it doesn't necessarily have to be, or would be a homicide charge. There could be other crimes associated with this investigation, even if somebody misled law enforcement, which I'm not saying happened, but you could present anything to a grand jury, right? Absolutely. And we don't have to be talking about murder or homicide. This could be an accidental death where there was evidence tampering, right? Where they tampered with the evidence, maybe deleted something from the cell phone that just seemed weird or odd, or put somebody else in a bad light. So they did that so they wouldn't look bad, even though it had nothing to do with the death itself.
I got to say, I'm a little confused by the cell phone. I've seen reports that the family had it initially handed over to law enforcement, and now it's going to be this joint examination, both by the family's experts and law enforcement's experts and investigators. How does that work exactly? Have you ever heard of that before?
I have. I've actually done those forensic analysis of electronic devices.
Now, we know that the family held on to it. They had their forensic guy look at it or whatever. And then we got, now the cops have it, right? So if we get too, let me tell you something. If the truth is the truth and it doesn't change. And whatever was deleted from that phone, whatever was saved, whatever was in it is in it, it was done. If we get two different reports, because we know these autopsy reports, for one, the state hadn't even released theirs, which is weird. For two, you got the one that the family had done where they're saying undetermined, which still leaves people in lingo, right? So then if you get these reports on this cell phone, two different reports on this cell phone, you got to know it's bullshit in the air. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't even going to say which side the bullshit is on. I'm going to just say, if the report, both reports from this cell phone don't come back the same, it's some bullshit in the air. And I stand on that. I stand on it.
Had my expert go in and capture these devices, actually get them from the investigators themselves. It's a little different than when you're talking about blood samples or something like that. When you're passing it around and you don't want to do that because it could be, contaminated with electronic evidence. Those things are going to be consistent. It's going to show when a text message was sent, what was included.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Everything should be consistent. Like, actually, the reports should match, like verbatim. They should match, right? Because you can't change, shit in a cell phone. You can't change that.
In that text message, there's going to be time blocks and things like that are really difficult to change and almost impossible to change. So I've had situations where I've done investigations at the same time as the federal or state investigators to try and get that data off of phones, laptops, computers, other things like that. It's different than what you normally think of like passing around blood samples or bullet fragments or something, or fingerprints can be transferred or something like that. Two things. One, there's also been a lot of talk about why he didn't have his phone. Right, there's some conversation. Well, if he went into the water, it'd be not uncommon for him to leave his phone behind. But then if he had gone off to talk with some girl, wouldn't he have his phone? Separate conversation. If it was if the phone was in the family's possession or in Ben Crumb's possession for this period of time, does the evidence have to be excluded? Is it not contaminated in some way? It doesn't, and that's just what we were just talking about. So I mean, some things are concrete, like that electronic data information of it or received, or if it was deleted. If, say, for example, the family got it and someone's saying, well, evidence is bad because the family could have added that, there's going to be an electronic footprint that's when that text was sent. So if it wasn't sent before the death, then obviously it wouldn't be included in any investigation involving the death. That's a little different when you talk about how high stakes those electronic data is, and how actually it shows you how beneficial it is to have that, because that's concrete. Look, the family needs answers. That's the bottom line. I know they're planning an independent autopsy. I know we're still waiting for the official autopsy from the state. So let's see what happens next. Dante Mills, good to see you, my friend. Thank you. Always. Thank you.
All right. Cuomo Crime Time. Animation's too long, but I like it in the podcast.
All right. Hold on. Let me see what this one is. Let's see. This is... It's the same thing. Why did I skip it? Okay.
He got back out and was seen.
And how actually it shows you how beneficial it is to have that.
The podcast, you can go and subscribe on YouTube right now. Cuomo. Online, it's all about the conspiracies. Racism is the least of it, okay? What do we know? July 4th, Nolan, black teen, went out on a boat in Mississippi with 4 of his friends who were all white. Later that day, the 4 other kids returned, no Nolan. But they did have his cell phone. They say Nolan chose to stay back on the island voluntarily. Without his phone?
You people that come in here and give the story what happened like you was there, it's amazing. Have you been to the cops, Bruce? Since you know what happened. Have you been to the cops and told them what happened? You people kill me. Believe it, Crump is holding them jokers. Man, look. I look at Crump the same way I look at the other side. I'm just be honest. I'm not that one that, shout out to Ben Crump, and Ben Crump is the best. I mean, he's good at what he does. But what he does is equivalent to what the other side do as well. It's just he does it, they all do the same thing. They all manipulate, they all narrate, right? They all, are in it for something. I'm just not that one. You know what I'm saying? He doing what he do, and shout out to him, you know what I'm saying, for helping his family. But he got his motives too as well. They all do. Right? He kills me. With the press conference this and press conference that. You got all these press conferences going on and we still don't know shit. You put on a whole press conference yesterday that is trending right now. That's pretty much gone viral, and there's nothing. Like there's nothing. There's nothing. Undetermined, pending an investigation. Nothing.
Nolan's body was found after a 2-day search in the water near the shoreline. Now there is a suggestion that he wasn't in the water. He got back out and was seen at a party. Nolan's parents don't buy the story as told and think race may be a factor. Lauren Conlon covers the story and the conspiracy theories circulating online for LA Magazine and joins us now. Lauren, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
What doesn't make sense to you right now that is out there?
I mean, Chris, let's be honest. We don't know a lot factually. Law enforcement hasn't actually put anything out there that we can verify, anything that's credible. And I just want to point out, it's been a week, just about a week. Autopsies, they can take months. Toxicologies, they can take months. With that being said, I understand his family wants answers. I mean, the whole thing about his phone being with his friend, his wallet and his belongings, I mean, that's strange. Teens generally don't part with their phones. However, they're all hanging out. They're on an island. They're
Girl, shut the fuck up. You're funny looking ass. Do you have a child? Do you have a teenage child? Do you have a child that went out to the water with friends and didn't come back? Girl, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Because just like that lady say, even though I don't rock with the mama like that neither, she said it. If it was your child, you would want to know. So because y'all want to see, and y'all know the reason why I play these people, you know, I say these people, because I want y'all to hear the bullshit. I want y'all to hear how they try to minimize what happened. And see, my thing is this. Justice for Nolan Wells, absolutely. But there's so many other cases out there that, you know, Nolan Wells is not the only victim. And I'm not minimizing what happened to him. But you got Daniel Irvin, you got these other teenagers that have come up unalive that we're gonna talk about. You get what I'm saying? It's just so many. It's so many. It's just, you got these that want to sit up here and act like, oh well, he parted with his phone. Oh well. No, it's not oh well. Not oh well, because if it was your child, you would want the same answers. And you knowing your child and knowing your child pretty much sleep with his damn cell phone. Hell, my grandbaby at 11, I have to go in there and get her tablet out. I keep saying tablet, iPad out the bed with her every night. Walk around the house with it up to her face all damn day long. That's what these kids do. There's no way that young man decided to stay on that island without his phone. No fucking way. Now they say, oh, he put the phone in the boat because he was going swimming and he wanted to get wet. I get that. But once he made a decision to stay, as they put it, you know, back with the little Becky, once he made a decision to stay, if nothing had happened, that's when he would have went to that boat, got his motherfucking phone, and made sure he had his phone.
They're swimming. My opinion, he probably put it down. He forgot about it. He's talking to a girl. He likes this girl. You know, the days get crazy and they're fun. They're all having fun at this point. So, I mean, the conspiracy theories and the content creators and the online sleuths at this point.
Girl, you look like a sleuth. You look like a sleuth. You online and you look like a sleuth. So don't that make you an online sleuth? You look funny looking, bitch. You look like the doctor deformed your face when it was pulling out your mama's coochie. Stop it. Just stop it.
Of noise, and I will say they have good intentions. They absolutely do. But I think there are too many cooks in the kitchen right now, so to speak.
It's called social media. It is called social media. Okay, that's what it's called. That's how it's done. And you're on social media. So you're a part of it. What are you talking about? Y'all quit putting Nancy Grace's name in my chat, please. I'm going to listen to Nancy, but I don't want her in my chat. I don't want her name in my chat. I don't fuck with her neither. I just want to hear what she got to say.
True at the same time. People don't swim with their phone, okay, right? Because they don't want it to get wet. So that would be a plausible explanation of why you leave it on the boat. However, if you decided to stay, why wouldn't you take your phone? So that is a legitimate...
I just said that, Zach. I just said that. It makes sense that I said that. See, this is what I mean when people don't listen because they want to be seen and make a point. I just said that. I said it makes sense that the phone was on the boat when he was in the water. But once he knew those guys were leaving and he decided not to ride back with them, you can't tell me he wouldn't have got his phone. Come on, bro. But y'all people are weird.
A question while there could be an explanation for the original placement of the phone. Now comes this photo that people are using as proof that, yeah, but he wasn't in the water. There he is right there. Can we verify that that's who he is, or we just see someone with brown skin?
Well, his family hasn't verified who that is, Cuomo. And also, you can't see the metadata on that photo. I have seen various reports that came out actually today of people who were at that party who said that party actually happened in June. I don't know about you. I don't post a lot of photos in real time. And again, this is not verified by law enforcement. This is online. Right. These are people talking. So I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think that was the night of July 4th into July 5th. But again, I feel awful for his family. I cannot even imagine what they're going through not having these answers. But I would say trust law enforcement at this point. Trust the
fuck they gonna trust law enforcement when, for one, law enforcement ain't even talking to them. The woman said it more than one time. Law enforcement ain't even talking to them. And for two, trust law enforcement in Mississippi is like banging your head up against a wall and not expecting to get brain damage, bitch.
process, as awful and as grueling as it is,
Understood.
it does take more than a week.
Understood. Lauren Collin, thank you. I know you'll be on it, and we're here for it. Thank you very much.
Though his keys and phone were there. So what are these
Okay, so this is Law and Crime, I think. No, it's still News Nation. Okay, hold on.
new records actually tell investigators? Do they answer any of the big questions in the case? For that, I turn to Cheryl McCollum, active crime scene investigator in Metro Atlanta, who's worked on high-profile cases from Tupac Shakur to the Zodiac Killer. She's also the author of Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer. Great to see you as always, Cheryl. So what answers does this dispatch?
You know what, Bruce, I've been paying attention to you. You kind of weird to me, but you make a great point. I've seen it. I've seen it happen in real life. I've seen why, you know, these so-called friends, you know, these dudes, you know, be good with my brother. Because my brother, it was a Nolan. My brother is a Nolan. He got all white friends. And I've seen them flip on him because of a woman, because of a girl. I've seen it. You know, they ain't did that to him, you know, like unalive him or beat his ass because they couldn't. But yeah, I've seen them flip. I've seen them definitely flip over a girl. You know, even though they call you they buddy. That's my bud. That's my best friend. They really don't like you fucking with their woman. They really don't.
Audio? Does this this GPS data? What answers do you have now that you didn't?
You know, you can hear the voice. He doesn't sound panicked. He doesn't sound out of control. He sounds very calculated. There's a problem. They're trying to handle it. The other thing he does
for that we're there. So what are these
going through not having these answers? But I would say trust law enforcement at this point. Trust the process, as awful and as grueling as it is.
Understood.
It does take more than a week.
Understood. Lauren Collin, thank you. I know you'll be on it, and we're here for it. Thank you very much.
Though his keys and phone were there. So what do these new records actually tell investigators? Do they answer any of the big questions in the case? For that, I turn to Cheryl McCollum, active crime scene investigator in Metro Atlanta, who's worked on high-profile cases from Tupac Shakur to the Zodiac Killer. She's also the author of Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer. Great to see you as always, Cheryl. So what answers does this dispatch audio? Does this this GPS data? What answers do you have now that you didn't?
You know, you can hear the voice. He doesn't sound panicked. He doesn't sound out of control. He sounds very calculated. There's a problem. They're trying to handle it. The other thing we now have is GPS. Tracking that vote is critical because these boys already made a statement. They already talked to family. They already talked to law enforcement. If their story does not match completely with what that vote did, then they're going to have a problem.
Well, from what I can see, it seems consistent in the idea that the boat was having problems. What is interesting is the dispatcher says, is everyone on board and in good health otherwise? And the caller says, yeah, everyone on board. First of all, everybody's on board. Nolan wasn't on board, right? And he's not fully answering the question.
Please talk about the fact that the boat made more than one stop. If you don't do that, this is asinine. Please talk about that.
It's interesting. The dispatcher says, is everyone on board and in good health otherwise? And the caller says, yeah, everyone on board. First of all, everybody's on board. Nolan wasn't on board, right? And he's not fully answering the question.
Well,
unless I'm looking at it wrong. Unless I'm completely off.
Well, he's probably answering what he knows is accurate at that time. If Nolan stayed behind, then everybody is on board because he wasn't supposed to be.
Yeah.
So she asked a very unusual question when she says, is everybody in good health otherwise? I think that's unusual. But again, they are sinking. So she's making sure, hey, is everybody on board? Is nobody jumping off? Like, if you're really sinking, are you going ahead and, getting in the water? But he says, no, everybody's on board.
Do we have a more accurate window of Nolan's movements? I mean, let's think about it, right? So the investigator said that he was last seen at around 3 p.m. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen other accounts that would seem to dispute that. There's a dispute about whether he, left to go talk to a girl or came back on board. And then you have this GPS data showing the boat didn't leave Horn Island until about 4:30. This dispatch, is around 4 p.m. What does this tell you?
There were hundreds of people out there. You've seen the video and the photographs. How somebody did not see him is pretty shocking to me, especially if he left one group that knows him to go with another group that clearly knows him. I don't understand how he got separated from everybody that he knows. It is early. They are actively still talking to people. They are gathering, photographic evidence and video evidence from people that were there. Even if I did not know him, if I'm just taking a video of the whole crowd, I could have captured him. So people that have no connection to him are still turning in evidence to be, looked at and analyzed.
And look, his family says it would be highly unusual that he would separate from a group. I also, while I have you, I got to ask you about the phone. Phone's a key piece of evidence in this case. There was a claim that perhaps data was deleted from his phone. He didn't have his phone with him. We know it was announced, according to Ben Crump, who's representing the family, that there's going to be this mutual investigation or examination of the phone. Both. But
1 minute. What's your name? Demi Hawk, it wasn't many. A black dude in that crowd would have stood out. Absolutely. I'm telling you. It wasn't many. If it was more than him, it couldn't have been no more than 5, maybe 10. I don't think it was 10. But him and that and them, even though it was a lot of people, a Nolan would have stood out. A Nolan would have stood out, like for real.
The family's private experts and by state investigators. A, is that unusual? And B, what are you hoping to find?
I like it. And let me tell you something. You've got a mama that does not understand what happened to her baby, period. She deserves to have those folks look at it. You've got your expert. I've got mine. Y'all are going to look at this thing at the exact same time. There's not going to be a doubt in my mind what is extracted from that phone and what it means. I like that part a whole lot. That to me should happen. There should be no secrets. This is not a situation where you say you've got to wait on the autopsy. You got to wait on toxicology. She doesn't want to wait. She wants to know right now because you're telling me something that for her does not make sense. It has to make sense. And Jesse, you know this from your background in the courts. When you have parents that have lost a child, you have got to give them all the information in a way that they can absorb it and understand it
100%.
and eventually accept it.
Especially if they don't trust local law enforcement. And look, as we reported yesterday, Ben Crump indicated also that the DA told him that after the investigation, this case may be presented to a grand jury for potential criminal charges, whether that's directly related to Nolan's death or something that happened in this investigation. We'll see. We'll be on top of it. Chair McCollum, thank you so much for taking the time.
I have yet to see a fact or a piece of evidence that suggests any foul play. But if there is, I feel confident that the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, the members at the Department of Public Safety that deal with these crimes, should there.
Oh, this is the governor. I've heard about this, but I haven't heard it. Let's listen. This is the governor.
For taking the time.
I have yet to see a fact or a piece of evidence that suggests any foul play. But if there is, I feel confident that the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, the
nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about the shady ass. What was she, a medical examiner or coroner? I don't know which one she is, but nobody's talking about that. It's a lot of things that they're not speaking on, right? They're speaking on, they're not speaking on stuff like that, right?
members at the department.
But I told y'all, I stressed to y'all, I made sure I said it to y'all before anything came out about that medical examiner. I told y'all, when that man sat up there and pretty much ran down her resume, I think it was a commissioner or something in the beginning, right? In the beginning, that commissioner that came out and spoke on that medical examiner and pretty much ran down her damn resume like she was being voted into office or something. I told y'all some shit was going to come out, didn't I? And we're going to do a whole live talking about the medical examiner. I ain't forgot about that. I got a whole list of shit that we're going to talk about. I told y'all something's going to come out about that lady because there's no way. I've never heard anyone speak publicly about a medical examiner unless, like I said, he was in a courtroom during trial. And I knew it. I knew it. And guess what happened? It came out that the bitch is shady. She's corrupt. Yeah. Got the whole rundown on her.
Public safety that deal with these crimes, if there had been one, they will find it and they will do what is necessary.
Well, if you don't know anything, why are you talking? Because it's starting to bubble up as important. And that's why we're covering now in Cuomo Crime Time. And you can go get the podcast anywhere you get podcasts. It's free. Subscribe. We're taking on these kinds of cases and showing you the inside from the people who are pros and figuring this out as opposed to just peddling conspiracies. So will the family of the dead 18-year-old, Nolan Wells, start getting answers about how exactly this happened? Nolan was the only black kid in his friend group of 5 who went out on the boat that July 4th. Does that matter? Nolan was also the only one who never returned. That obviously matters. His body was found 2 days after he was reported missing near the shoreline off Horn Island. Did he die in the water or did he die on land? That we're going to know. Police initially said they did not suspect foul play, but his family is insisting on a full investigation. Yesterday, the DA met with Nolan's parents. Afterwards, the family said the case will be presented to a grand jury once the investigation is complete. Interesting. They also said Nolan's phone, which he didn't keep with him when he was separated from his friends, will undergo a forensic inspection from both state and the family's chosen experts. The family believes some of Nolan's messages may have been deleted. Why do they believe that? There's also been new audio released of the boys on the boat that afternoon. Does it mean anything? Let's get some answers. Let's bring in former FBI agent Jennifer Coffindaffer and civil rights attorney Ariva Martin. It's good to have you both. Jennifer, let's start with the nuts and bolts. The audio,
you say we don't belong in Mississippi, period. If you ask me, I've been there once and it's a no for me. Well, we belong anywhere we want to be. We belong, because see, that's the thing, that's that mindset, you know what I'm saying? Like, we belong anywhere we want to be, in my opinion, Demi Hall, because it's supposed to be what, America, right? So we should be able to be anywhere we want to be. It's just like with the Carmelo Anthony case, and we shouldn't move in these neighborhoods, and we shouldn't move here, and that's what the fuck we should. But the thing is, we shouldn't move there and be killed. We shouldn't move there and have to face racism. See, that's the problem. These people feel entitled. You know what I'm saying? I understand it, and you're right. But that's the fucked up part about it. We shouldn't be, you know what I'm saying? We shouldn't be walking around here scared and afraid to move. Where we should be able to live wherever the fuck we want to live. And don't have to worry about our teenagers being hung from trees and shit of that nature.
Advance understanding.
Not really, Chris. I guess in a sense, it advances the fact that they were discussing leaking on the boat, that a village had an issue. Really, that was it. There was nothing in it that showed anything nefarious, any fighting or anything along those lines. So in that aspect, yes, it gave more clarity.
When the investigation is done, we will present it to a grand jury. Now, Ariva, that can mean something. It can mean nothing, because you can always go to a grand jury. It kind of gives the accountability over to the jury.
No, I think it's an important development, Chris, in this case. This case, basically, Nolan Wells died, and his death is a mystery to all of us at this point. And when you have a case of this nature, a suspicious death, I shouldn't say murder because we don't know at this point, but a suspicious death, I think it's appropriate for this case to be submitted to a grand jury. And I believe the independent investigation that's happening with respect to the phone is appropriate, as well as this independent autopsy, which the family has also commissioned as well. Look, you got to look at Mississippi. You have to look at the history of racial terror in Mississippi, the history of African-American victims in a state like Mississippi. And I would concur with the family that they should have independent forensic evidence that is presented to a grand jury, because there is no trust that this family has in this law enforcement agency. You have the governor coming out making statements. You said yourself, Chris, if you don't know anything, why are you talking? So to even have a governor weigh in at this early stage is seemingly inappropriate, particularly since we don't know the facts and this notion that there's no foul play. There's no evidence to support that statement whatsoever.
Right.
That answer will be that question will be answered in large part, Jennifer, by the autopsy. Am I correct?
Absolutely. That autopsy is going to show, listen, is there water in the lungs or wasn't there water in the lungs? If there's water in the lungs, that is going to show he likely drowned. If there isn't, that would show that there was foul play and that something happened in advance of him going into that water. So the autopsy is key, along with the toxicology. And this is points of evidence that are independent, meaning no matter what, both individuals, whether it's the ME or whether it's the independent people conducting the autopsy, should come to the same conclusion because it's scientific.
So Dusty, when you were answering the question, said to me, what about the toxicology? Would that decide it? In truth, it goes with your answer. I'll give it to you, Ariva. If there's water in the lungs and the toxicology shows the presence of things, it might help explain why he drowned, but it's still a drowning. And if there's toxicology that's really high and there's no water in the lungs, then it could be suggestive of drugs, but it's what else the autopsy shows, right? Because you can be high and also have been strangled. You know what I mean?
You got to stop. You really got to stop. If that young man don't have water in his lungs, he did not die. He did not drown. You really got to stop. Now you want to indicate, you want to insinuate that he may have, OD'd? Is that what we're doing? Wow. You can't put the N-word in the chat, Demi. I'm going to delete your comment, but don't put the N-word. His face in school was crushed and disfigured. You seen it? You seen it? You seen his face?
Got to see what the autopsy is.
You can be intoxicated and still be pushed into the water and drowned by other people. So the drowning itself or water in the lungs is not going to be dispositive about whether a crime was committed in this case. We have to have the complete evidence. I want to know what those friends know. We've been getting these shifting narratives, Chris, about what happened that day. Did he stay behind with the girl? Was the girl even on the island? There's some accounts that the girl left the island and wasn't on the island with Nolan Wells. What did his friends know? When did they come forward with the information that they did have access to? So I don't think water in the lungs alone, or even whatever we learn from this toxicology report alone, is going to give us all the answers this family and this community deserve.
I know it's not satisfying, Jennifer, but what I keep saying to people is, All I know is at this point, it's not wrong to be asking questions. When you get the autopsy back and they give it to you and it seems to check out with other forensic experts that this seems right, that's when you start exhausting the questions and the answers. But right now, they need to get that piece involved. And as soon as they do, I'm coming back to you so that you can help me understand what we now know and what we still need to know and what it means. Jennifer Coffindaffer, thank you as always. Ariva Martin, good to see you. Thank you for helping.
This family till the very end and make sure we're dealing with justice. Let's first hear from the mother, Christine Wansley.
First of all, I want to say thank you, everyone, for being here. This is not how I wanted the world to meet my son, but here we are. So, as you know, I'm Christine Wells Wansley. I am Nolan Wells' mom. And Nolan is the kindest soul. He never met a stranger. He loved everybody. He didn't care if you were black, white, purple, green, looked like a marshmallow. Like, he just wanted everyone to be in peace with one another. He loved life, and God gave him this big heart, which always scared us. Me and his dad had conversations with him all the time, not just about the importance of understanding our history as Black people, but also the importance of how you have to move in certain spaces. And it's not us being, feeding into racism or the stereotypes that comes with that. Unfortunately, that is just a matter of fact. There have been many cases, many instances that shows that it's unfortunately a pattern that he did not like. He did not like that there was so much division, and I think that's why God gave him us.
You're gonna have to go in a minute, ZBYD, whatever. You're gonna have to go. You don't know the rules of my chat. I assume you don't know the rules of my chat. You can't be stating lies in my chat. If I know it's a lie, especially, you can't do that. What autopsy showed that his skull was battered? What autopsy? Did you see it? Did you read it? Did you hear it? The autopsy that was put out on yesterday, I didn't know anything about a battered skull. Now, I heard about some redness on the back of his, neck, head, or whatever. Where did you read or hear about a battered skull? Where? Point me in that direction, and I will digress.
He was really a peacemaker. He wanted, like I said, everyone to be included. He never wanted to leave anyone out. He just, even at a young age, I don't know, he was, how old was he? No, not 18. When he was a baby. He did a little dance. So his father and I were having a moment, and as couples do, and even in that moment, he runs in the room with his diaper on, of course, and he starts dancing because it was like he could feel the tension. He could feel that something wasn't right. So he was just a special kid. Like, he was a special kid, but again, just heart was so big. And we're gonna miss him dearly. But we are grateful, especially to our friend Tashima, who actually was one of the people who helped us that night. She went and picked up his cell phone from where it was, and then provided that to us, because we of course contacted authorities to figure out who to do the report with, whether it was the county or the city, which then turned into DMR, who I contacted immediately from there. And but so our friend, actually, when I called her, Nolan is best friends with her two sons, Jalen and Javon. When I called her, I said, Tashima, have you seen Nolan? He's missing. No one has seen him. No one has talked to him. The boys were actually with her sons. So they opened up their Snapchat, because a lot of the kids do have their locations where they're tracking one another. So one of the boys says, well, it's showing that, I can't exactly remember what his location was showing, but my Life 360 location was showing something completely different. It was actually showing that his phone was like he was on land. And so we ended up, she received the phone from that parent, and then we met up where his car was, which was at a separate location. There were issues obtaining the key.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our News Nation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news.
Well, joining us now is Ben Crump to talk about what they've found so far and what they are hoping to find from the authorities down in Mississippi. Ben, welcome back to TMZ Live.
Hey, thank you, Charles, for having me. Thank you for covering this matter.
Yeah, we have been all over this story, and I know everybody wants answers, and we are doing our best to try and see what we can find. But with this autopsy, the independent autopsy that you did, you mentioned that obviously, I think the part that people are really focusing on is that you mentioned that there was this discoloration, this red coloration on the back of Nolan's head. Did the examiner who looked at him have any inkling about what that might be? Could it be blunt force trauma? And I understand that the cause of death and manner is undetermined, but is it possible that it was blunt force trauma?
Well, he wants to be able to give his theories and opinions before the grand jury in Mississippi as to the possible causes of the red discoloration in the back of Nolan Wells' head near the occipital region of the brain. And so it's very significant. He concluded that it was undetermined pending further investigation, the manner and cause of death. But he did find that very significant that you had this red discoloration in the back of his brain in that occipital region of the brain, of the head. Also, he found it very significant. He said that they did not see his throat with his body in the second autopsy. He said when he was the chief medical examiner of DC, this is something that's common. He said normally he would do it when they were investigating and studying whether there were fractures to the neck or some kind of, compressions to his vertebrae. Right. So that is significant, he found. And the most significant thing he said, what is the crux of the matter that we do not know, and that is, what was the condition of Nolan Wells' body when he entered the water? Was he conscious or was he unconscious? Was he forced into the water or was he unforced into the water? He said those are going to be very significant in a potential drowning death case where you had a person who was able to swim.
Ben, was your examiner able to, I know you said that just like the throat was removed, what about the lungs? You mentioned that the initial autopsy, that the lungs had been dissected, but was your examiner able to see the lungs at all, or were they also removed?
No, they were able to see the lungs. However, Charles, remember the state medical examiner for Mississippi got to observe the body when it was first recovered. And that Dr. Roger Mitchell, the independent pathologist that we hired, he would not have seen the body until 6 days later. And the body had, as he said, severe decomposed. And it is one of those things that he is going to have to rely on photographs that were taken by the Mississippi medical examiner. We believe that they would have taken photographs and their observations, whether there was water in the lungs and water in his airways. We know that some from the United Cajun Navy said that his body didn't seem bloated when they found him, that they didn't see his body as waterlogged. So all these things are significant as we try to figure out why Nolan Wells is dead.
Ben, how were Nolan's parents, how did they receive, when I'm sure before the news conference this morning, you had gone over the autopsy results, the independent autopsy results with them. How were they when they got those results? Was it disappointing to them? Were they, obviously they want to know what happened to their son. Were they disappointed that, because of all those conditions you just mentioned, the examiner was not able to determine a manner or cause of death?
Well, Charles, they were alarmed, as many of us were, at the, red discoloration in the back of his head. They were alarmed that he didn't have his throat with the body. And, they want answers. They have been very consistent. They do not accept that nobody didn't know anything, that nobody didn't see anything. And so when you think about the fact that Reverend Al and Mr. Tyler Perry and Mr. Terrell Owens has put up this $125,000 reward, that is because we know somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were over 300, 400 people out there on Horn Island that day. We, on our Nolan Wells tip line, we've received over hundreds of calls with video, people saying what they saw, people having photographs. And it's important that the people who knew something, who saw something, that they call us, is critically important.
To that point, Ben, I don't know if you've seen, there's a video that we were able to obtain, and we posted this yesterday, and I don't know if you have seen it yet, but the person who shot it pointed this out, gave a copy of this to the police because they believe that it could be Nolan. There's an image of a young man who's bent over on the back deck of a boat, and the trunks certainly look like the same color that Nolan was wearing on July 4th. And all we can see, he never stands up, so we can't see his face, but they thought this could be Nolan. And I'm wondering if the family has seen this, or if you're having any contact with any of Nolan's friends who might have seen this, who could say, yeah, that's him. because the police are trying to determine that. We don't know if they've figured out if it's him. Have you seen this video?
Well, my team of investigators and our team of lawyers have received that video and received many others. And we've received witnesses saying that they say it's Nolan, but until we can confirm these allegations, we want to be careful to say that witnesses have said that this is Nolan. And we also have videos where you have people having exchanges, disputes, and people have said that was Nolan. So we're trying to dot every I and cross every T, because it's so critically important that this family gets answers, that the country gets answers.
You said that your investigators have been getting a lot of tips about videos and photos, and I'm wondering if there's anybody coming forward, because you said something that is so true, where there's so many people who are out there in Horn Island. Whatever it is that happened to Nolan, even if it is accidental, but whatever it is that happened, it just seems implausible that no one has seen anything. I'm wondering if you are having any luck hearing from people who were actually on the island who saw him. I mean, obviously, even in the image that we have, that they may or may not be him, but there were so many people there. It just seems implausible that whatever happened to this young man, someone didn't see anything. Are you hearing from people who were on the island?
We are hearing from people on the island, and the Nolan Wells tip line at bencrump.com is getting a lot of hits and submissions. And that 800 number that we want to encourage everybody to call at the Ben Crump call center is 1-888-991-1772.
Okay.
And we are going to take detailed information from you.
Okay. What have you heard from, your independent autopsy is complete now. Have you heard anything from the sheriff's department as to when their results are going to be available? Because obviously they have the throat. They were able to look at his lungs, and as well they're going to have the toxicology, which that's going to be the really telling thing here. Have you heard from them when those results might be available?
No, we haven't. And remember, our autopsy is not complete. It's undetermined pending further investigations. That's very important to note, Charles, because we need to examine the throat. We also want to see the pictures. We want to know whether his lungs and airways have water in them. Those things are significant if we're trying to be transparent. And they told us they're going to be transparent. So we're going to see if we can take them at their word. Furthermore, I think it's vitally important that we continue to underscore that the toxicology is important, but it's not the end all. Charles, if he went into the water with all those people on Horn Island, somebody knows something, somebody saw something, and that is the crux of the matter. That is what's going to be an issue. The cell phones, all toxicology, all play a part, but what did people see? Somebody knows what happened to Nolan Wells.
All right. Ben, thank you so much.
Thank you all for covering this matter.
What were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. Why is Nolan Wells dead?
That question has hung in the air since July 4th, since 18-year-old college football player Nolan Wells vanished from a remote island only to be found days later under circumstances that still don't add up. The independent autopsy results for Nolan Wells are now in, and what they found, I'm going to break it all down with you with an expert who can tell us what this all really means. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Webb. So look, we have all been waiting for answers in this case. The family has been waiting for answers in this case, waiting for something, anything that could tell us what really happened to Nolan Wells on that island. His family has been waiting patiently. The public has been watching. And today, finally, we got something. The independent autopsy results are in. Remember, the family had commissioned that an independent autopsy be conducted. There seems to be this level of perhaps distrust in the investigation from the state ME. We know that they're being represented by attorney Ben Crump, and Ben Crump just stepped up to the mic this morning to tell us what they found. Now, briefly, a lot has happened, okay? A lot's been going on. Most importantly, to give you an update here, Nolan Wells' life was honored this week. There was a massive service. There was hundreds of people. Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy. Tyler Perry covered the costs. And before that service ended, Sharpton made a move that got everyone's attention. A $50,000 reward for information leading to a conviction in Nolan Wells' case. Perry matched it on the spot. $100,000 now. That's the total for whoever knows something that could lead to a potential conviction here. Assuming for the moment, by the way, that a crime was committed. The FBI has stepped in. They're looking into threats that were tied to this case. It tells you how high the temperature has gotten. And all of this is happening with the possibility of a grand jury looming. Look, as far as we know, after a meeting with the DA, Ben Crump said that the DA indicated that after the sheriff's office investigation, they may present this case to a grand jury. No timeline yet, but a possibility as we're awaiting the official results of the autopsy, right? Because I want to be clear, what I'm about to get into is the results, the preliminary findings of the independent autopsy, not the state medical examinations autopsy. We've been tracking every development in this case, and today, Ben Crump made this huge announcement, standing at the podium at the NAACP convention with preliminary findings. We know that Nolan Wells' body was moved to Washington, D.C. Again, the family commissioned this, they ordered this, and these are the findings that provide our first independent look at what happened. Now, before we even got to those findings, Ben Crump laid out why this fight for transparency even exists.
I want to thank you all who have called the call center. I want to thank Reverend Al Sharpton. I want to thank Mr. Tyler Perry. I want to thank Mr. Terry Owens for putting up the $125,000 reward for anybody out there who have information so we can get to the truth of what happened. I mean, any videos, and we've gotten so many videos, President Johnson, from that day from young people, and we want them to have the courage to come forward with the pictures, what you heard. I know people say there were a lot of disturbances out there. Some believe it involved Nolan. All of those things are important to get to the truth of what happened. And so that's why I thank you all for being here, because this news is as important as any news in the United States of America, finding out why is Nolan Wells dead.
Losing a child, it truly breaks your heart. It is a pain that is just, you can't measure it. Especially someone like Nolan, who brought so much joy and light and life to everyone. You don't find too many genuine people like him. So to lose that light at such a young age under these circumstances has been absolutely difficult, which is why we've gone this route. There's so many people out in the public asking all of these questions, but the only question that we have is what happened to our son. That is the only question. And so it is our hope that our local authorities will do what they need to do, because us having the preliminary autopsy results and hearing nothing from them, it's heartbreaking and it's concerning, which again is why we are here, why we have asked for this help.
So now the family has their independent autopsy results, and here is what that medical examiner, that pathologist found.
Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation.
So what do you hear? Cause undetermined, manner undetermined, this red discoloration on the back of the head. But this is where it gets interesting. So according to Ben Crum, he claimed the United Cajun Navy found Nolan fully clothed, face down, even though Crum pointed out that the last picture we have seen of Nolan wearing the swim trunks with his friends that's been circulated everywhere, he's not fully clothed, right? He's not wearing a shirt. And you have this last video of him, or potentially of him, this newly surfaced TMZ footage recorded at 2:23 p.m. on July 4th, which appears to show a man arguably matching Nolan's description on a boat wearing the same blue swim trunks that he had in that famous photo. Again, shirtless, if that is him. However, this just came out. So the United Cajun Navy took to X and they said, Attorney Crum, we didn't say Nolan was fully clothed when found. He was wearing only swim trunks. Please don't misrepresent our words. Now, this is another issue to try to make sense of what the condition of Nolan's body was. Okay, so I want to make sense of this. I want to try to understand what all of this means. I'm bringing on one of our favorites in this space. This is Dr. Nada Rutherford, Richland County coroner. So good to see you, doctor. I knew you were watching this live. We were watching it live. I know you were taking a lot of notes as we were trying to make sense of this. There's a lot of different areas here to go into. I guess I'll just start with the big conclusion from this independent autopsy, and you tell me how limited independent autopsies are, but the fact that it came out that the cause and manner of death are undetermined pending investigation, is that something that surprises you? Or and what do we mean by this? What do we take away from this?
Number one, given the circumstances surrounding this case, I am extremely disappointed that an independent autopsy was not performed from the beginning. Yes, the state has a responsibility to perform the autopsy, but even the county coroner said, I want no parts of it. I'm sending this to the state ME's office. So if they were going to do that, they should have given this family the option from the beginning to have an independent autopsy, because things are missing from this independent autopsy that as a mother, as a community member, don't sit right with me. Number one, if you were going to hold back any parts of the body, I feel as if the independent examiner should have known that from the beginning, and a report of what those findings were should have been sent to him. Yes, it is customary to hold back pieces of the body if you're going to examine them further, but why? What was there that you needed to examine? And why have you not discussed this with the family? Transparency as a public official, especially in the role of coroner, where you are expected to perform an independent autopsy outside of the police's investigation. I feel that the coroner and ME's office has not been transparent and and upfront with this family, and that is very concerning to me. Why would you hold back the neck muscles? Why would you hold back?
Let me play that portion of the press conference right now.
The anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death.
Dr. Rutherford, why would those pieces be removed? And are they being tested? You make a really good point about why that wasn't communicated to Dr. Mitchell, right, the person who was conducting this independent autopsy. But why would those pieces of a body be typically, or I don't know, is it typical to remove them, and for what purpose?
Yes, it is typical to remove them. Whenever an autopsy is performed, we are removing those internal structures so that we can further examine them, not only from a visual standpoint, but from a microscopic standpoint as well. Now, when we look at the neck muscles, we look at what's called the strap muscle. So if you kind of, just to give you kind of an idea, these are your strap muscles, okay? But right here sits your esophagus, sits your trachea, sits your hyoid bone. They specifically mentioned that the hyoid bone was not included in the body when the independent examiner received it. That's a significant point for me, because that means that they are checking to see if the strap muscles had hemorrhaging, meaning signs of strangulation. Petechial hemorrhaging is very important, but also bleeding into those muscles. The hyoid bone, examining that bone, being able to remove the soft tissue from it to check for signs of trauma, like a fracture to that bone, is crucial when you're thinking about possible strangulation or someone being choked, hit in the neck area, blunt force trauma. The other thing that's significant for me with this is that they could not determine whether or not intracranial hemorrhage occurred, which again is problematic because there was discoloration to the back of the skull. They noted it, they measured it. Why
I was
didn't
gonna ask you about that.
Why was that not disclosed? And if there was no underlying fracture, fine, but why not say that? This family should know more than what they know. Even when we get cases like this and we have questions, we still tell the families what little we know and tell them, hey, things could change, but here's what we have right now.
So a lot of questions about this. Number one, the fact that those, I hate to say it, those pieces of Nolan's body are missing, does that mean you can't even determine whether this was an accidental drowning?
Exactly, because I need to know when they received that body at that first examination, was there water in the airway? Was there debris in the airway? What were the contents of his stomach? Were there pills there? Was there alcohol there? Was there food there? That gives me a timeline on when Nolan may have last eaten. What was he drinking? I'm examining the contents of his stomach. How was his body found? Was he found actually in a body of water, truly inside of the water, or was he just on the shoreline? All of these things matter greatly when you are doing a water death, especially.
So if the first examiner, right, removed those body parts, does that suggest that they may have a conclusion, that when the state ME's report comes out with the toxicology findings, they may have a conclusion whether or not there was foul play, whether there was trauma to that region, whether there was drowning, that the fact that they removed those pieces would suggest they may have an answer?
They sent everything else. So obviously they held these pieces of Nolan's body behind to further examine them. Why? And if you weren't going to send the entire body, why? And you need to tell not only the examiner that, you need to tell the family that, you need to tell the attorney that, because that is significant information. This Dr. Roger Mitchell cannot perform a full independent examination if he's missing pieces of the body. Did you do a full skeletal x-ray to know whether or not those bones were broken? I really think the biggest mistake here is that they did not allow this family to go ahead and perform an independent autopsy, knowing the circumstances of this case.
But you know, people are going to look at this and say, are they hiding something? They give a body over without, is that a fair conclusion? Or is that, like, again, I want to be careful about this and say, is this something that you've seen before? Is it standard? Is it a lapse in judgment? Is it a mistake? Is it sloppy work? Or is there something that is not, there's a lack of transparency?
Here's what I think. Listening to them respond about the condition of his body and what they believed could have happened to Nolan without even getting to the examination of his body is concerning. How can you assume that there was no foul play? How can you assume that this was an accidental drowning and you have not even completed the autopsy yet? That would have been mistake number one to point out in this case, not only from a perspective of being a parent, but also just as the coroner. I meet with our law enforcement and tell them, hey, please do not release this type of information without talking to me first, because I don't want the family to think that we're hiding anything from them. I want them to know. And Nolan deserves to have the story of his death told, no matter how harsh it may be, no matter how benign it may be. He deserves to have the truth of his death told accurately.
This red discoloration on the back of Nolan's head in this tissue area, I believe they call it the focal. You would know better than me. The focal. They call it the focal.
They called it a focal discoloration, meaning that it wasn't a diffuse discoloration, meaning it didn't cover a wide area. It was very specific to that area, so specific, in fact, that they could measure it to determine that it didn't spread anywhere else. So I think that's really important because that could be a point of impact.
Now, could that be from the examination, the first examination, the way the body was placed? Or could that be, because remember when the body was ultimately examined, right? I think it was July 10th, they say the body was examined, unless I think I'm correct about that. But could that be someone hit Nolan? Something happened to him and that mark would still be there, just assuming, or do you think it could be something that happened after he died?
I think it's probably before, especially because there seemed to be the discoloration as it was described. And again, you have someone who is a non-medical professional reading an autopsy report, which I also completely disagree with because it muddies the waters. And he really should have had Dr. Mitchell or an assistant, someone with medical training and knowledge to read this autopsy report, but I digress. The discoloration that they discussed, just want to make sure I'm quoting them correctly in what they stated, said it was a 12 by 8 inch red discoloration overlaying the occipital bone. So I think that's significant because this shows a blow from behind. No matter whether or not it caused intracranial hemorrhage or not, we know that there was no underlying skull fracture associated with it. So the fact that this happened to him, we know that this was a ante-mortem thing, that this happened before he died, because you don't really bruise after you die. We check for those bruises. We actually have the pathologist cut into those bruises and they look for certain things. Now, again, this body was found later. It was found in an outdoor area, but we don't know if that body had been there the entire time, or did somebody bring it back and take it off? They say he was fully clothed, but in all the pictures, he doesn't have a shirt on. There's so many questions.
What did you make of that? What about the marked decomposition of the body?
Again, very significant. It's so significant because I want to know what decompositional changes there were. Was he bloated? Was he waterlogged? They say he wasn't waterlogged, but again, if you're found face down near a body of water, wet things break down faster. I can't imagine that the shoreline is just dry. There's water there. There's moisture there. So is his face intact? What were there bugs on him? There should have been some examination, even with the forensic entomologist, to say, was bug activity present here? You can look at the bugs to help determine a timeline for the time of death. I feel like so much is missing here. And I think the biggest mistake, Jesse, seriously, is that they should have given this family the option to perform an autopsy on their own before someone else touched the body.
I want to play something else from Ben Crump this morning. Let's take a look.
This pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he said based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body position when it was found? Number three, where's there water in the airway? Remember he talked about the lungs and the airways, where they filled with water. Number four, is there any evidence of injuries to the anterior neck structure? We got the autopsy without his neck. We got the body without his neck at the time of the second autopsy. Number five, is there any evidence of any intracranial hemorrhaging? He said that is going to be very significant. Things that he could not observe at autopsy that the initial medical examiner would have been able to observe. Number six was the composition of what was the composition of the stomach contents? He talks about that being important because when was he found? How long had he been in the water? How long had it been since his last meal? All those things become relevant factors when you're trying to do a thorough and impartial autopsy. And number seven, what are the toxicology report findings? He said the best classification again for the cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells is undetermined pending investigation.
So they can't rule out foul play. How do the state investigators now respond to this? I'm imagining they're still waiting for toxicology results for their own autopsy, but do they respond to this? How do they respond to this? When do we receive the official autopsy from the state medical examiner's office? What's going to happen next there? I mean, I'm really curious about the law enforcement's response to this.
I think their option is to respond. I think it's the only right thing to do. The fact that they have chosen not to respond, the fact that they've chosen not to be transparent and to share information, it's not just a failure of duty, but it's a betrayal of public trust. The public trusts you to tell the story about how people died, whatever that truth may be. And if they have something, they need to talk with the family. They don't need to have a press conference about it. They don't need to talk to anyone else but that family. And tell the family, hey, I want to share this with you, but I need you guys to not share this until we get all of the reports back. That's a very simple ask. This mother and father want to know what happened to their son. that's the least that they could do is respond and say, this is why we're saying there's no foul play. This is how we've concluded this.
And I'm curious, like, if there really is a divergence between what that medical examination is and what is here, I mean, it's already going to raise a lot of questions. This presser is going to raise a lot of questions. The toxicology findings, how much is that going to help fill in the blanks?
I don't know that it will. If there's nothing there, then it's non-contributory to the cause of death. But what if there is something there? This is a student athlete. This is someone who prided himself on his athletic ability and staying healthy to play football. This was a first love for him. You hear his dad speak so passionately about his son's football career and what he was trying to do. So I can't imagine that this is a kid who's just out here, doing drugs and drinking. And if someone saw him doing those things, then step forward. Say something, because we know as parents that our children don't tell us everything that they do. He's a college kid. Maybe he does do something every now and again, but someone needs to say something. Someone needs to.
I think even, as we talked about having that video come out that could potentially be Nolan, that's a piece of the puzzle, right? More video coming out, establish a timeline. There's something to this idea about so many people being there, and you don't know who spoke to who yet and what those interviews were like. But again, you have to imagine somebody might have more information, because right now, based on this independent autopsy, and we'll see what happens with the official autopsy, that can only tell so much. So Dr. Nita Rutherford, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can also check us out on NBC's Peacock as well. If you want to follow me, X, Instagram, my News Nation show, Jesse Weber Live, Monday through Friday, 11 p.m. Eastern. See you next time, everybody.
National story and a national debate. Some believe he's the victim of a racial attack, while others believe this was a tragic accident that has nothing to do with race. The investigation is far from over, but today, Nolan Wells' family attorney Benjamin Crump announced some preliminary results from a private autopsy.
This pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells.
And now new details also being revealed by witnesses who saw Nolan Wells' body.
Nolan was found face down, fully clothed.
Meanwhile, the official investigation into what happened on Horn Island on July 4th continues, as a grand jury in Mississippi is reportedly looking at the case. And now, for the first time, one of Nolan's friends who was there that day is speaking out for the first time about what he saw and what he heard. All these new developments now have fueled even more debate and raised even more questions surrounding the tragic death of Nolan Wells. This is now a divisive story, the death of Nolan Wells. And the question is, was this an accident or was this a crime? Was this fueled by racism or are these baseless allegations? In this episode, we're going to take a look at some new information, including those results from the private autopsy and the words of one of Nolan Wells' friends. I'm Vinny Politan. Let's investigate. So what we're learning about Horn Island on July 4th is that this is a huge celebration for locals there. Like, everyone's out on the water. And Horn Island, about 10 miles off the coast of Mississippi, is a place where people gather. The water, you can kind of wade through it a little bit. You can go onto the beach. There's nothing there. Like, there is nothing there at all. We're also learning new information that Nolan Wells went out with not just a couple of friends, but went out with a large group. That's what one of his friends is saying. We're going to talk about that. This is a much different picture than was painted, right? We saw the picture of Nolan with 3 of his friends, and we're thinking, okay, 4 guys going out there. Maybe there's a 5th or a 6th, but no, it's a much larger group. In fact, the group was so large that they went out on 3 different boats and followed each other out there. So this is a much different situation than what I had in my mind about what was going on that day. I thought it was, okay, there's a few people out, maybe a few dozen people out on Horn Island. We're hearing the numbers are much larger. And he was out with a few friends when it's a much, much larger group. Also, we're learning a lot more now from Ben Crump, who is the attorney representing Nolan Wells' family, trying to uncover everything and make sure a full and transparent investigation takes place here. And they've hired their own medical examiner to perform a private autopsy. And those preliminary results are out. And we are going to talk about those private autopsy results. Very significant, very important in all of this. But they are preliminary, and they're part of the second autopsy because the medical examiner from the state has not released any information yet. Now, there's another big piece of information that was revealed by Ben Crump today, talking about Nolan Wells and when he was found and what his body looked like, and most importantly, what he was wearing. Take a listen to this.
The fact, Christine, that the United Cajun Navy are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. Well, that's significant to us because the last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. So at what point did he put on a shirt? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were almost 300, 400 people. Somebody knows something.
Okay. Fully clothed. Now, the United Cajun Navy is a private organization that helps in search and rescues. And we've seen him in a lot of the cases that we've covered through the years. And a member of the United Cajun Navy let it be known that based upon his observations, face down, fully clothed. What exactly does fully clothed mean? Well, at a minimum, you're going to have a shirt on, right? I want you to take a look at this video. This is from TMZ. And this was from the day that Nolan Wells went missing on Horn Island. And there he is. And you notice in that video, not wearing a shirt. This is according to the metadata around 2:23 in the afternoon. So this would be a couple hours prior to those boats leaving. But at that time, not fully clothed, he's wearing swim trunks. Now, what does the term fully clothed mean? Does it mean you get out of your swim trunks, or does it mean you have a shirt on? Does it mean you have a shirt and shoes on? It's not clear. But at a minimum, if you're going to describe someone as fully clothed, they're going to have a shirt on. So when did he put on a shirt, and why was he wearing a shirt? Why was he in the water with a shirt, right? These are important questions that haven't been answered, but new information now that raises, curiosity about the timeline from 2:23 to the time that he apparently goes missing, shirtless, and then wearing a shirt, according to the United Cajun Navy. So that's a big development in all this, because if you put on a shirt, that would likely put you on a boat, not on the island, not in the water, but potentially on a boat getting ready to head back. I mean, that's the natural implication from that, unless, for some reason he put the shirt on the island. But in that image there that we saw, he didn't have the shirt when he was sort of hanging by the boat. So why was the shirt on? Or is that inaccurate reporting? That's possible too. That's potentially inaccurate. I don't know. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that. Now, that's huge. Also, Benjamin Crump presenting to the public the results of the preliminary autopsy done by a private medical examiner who they hired to do this. Was actually paid for by Colin Kaepernick, the former football player. So let's take a listen to what Ben Crump revealed at this meeting today. Fascinating stuff.
So Dr. Roger Mitchell, board-certified forensic pathologist, performed a preliminary report on the death of Nolan Xavier Wells. He conducted and presented this report on July 19th, 2026. Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. And we'll explain that as we go through the report this morning. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation. Preliminary findings, and this is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. Very significant for Dr. Mitchell was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. And we'll explain that in just a minute.
Two significant pieces here, right? So there's this soft tissue redness in the back of the head in this area that apparently was not discovered or examined in the initial autopsy by the state medical examiner. That's according to the private medical examiner, Dr. Mitchell. And then the area of the throat was not provided when they provided the body. Part of the throat was still retained by the state medical examiner, which may mean that there's further testing being done to see if there's any sort of injury to the throat part of Nolan Wells, while there is some soft tissue redness back here that, again, the genesis of it not explained. Like it's not known at this time, but
Discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head. And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted. This report further investigations that were not performed. He said another limitation, move this back here. Another limitation faced by this forensic absence of the anterior internal neck structure. The thyroid horn and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. So he's
the state of hiding evidence. What they're doing is saying, listen, there's potentially a reason why it would be held back. Let's continue to watch.
He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. As in the case with Nolan Wells, at the time of this report, this forensic pathologist does not know the condition of Nolan Wells. He did not know whether he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. He said that would be significant. He said he did not know whether he was forced into the water or unforced into the water. He said that would be significant. So he said the condition of Nolan Wells before he entered the water would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death. He said, definitive circumstances of death are required to determine the manner of death. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out, and let me really call your attention to this. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he's saying based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant.
It's undetermined. So you're not ruling out foul play, you're not ruling out accident. It's neither. It could be spun in either direction. But the bottom line is not enough information. And it seems some of that information would have to come from eyewitnesses, not just from the autopsy. Like how he ended up, was he forced into the water? That's not something that's you're necessarily going to be able to figure out from an autopsy at all. What I want to do now is there's more information that we're getting. And this is information from someone who's one of Nolan's friends. Warren Hudson is his name. He was on the Officer Tatum show, gave an interview. And in part one of the interview, revealed some more of the facts surrounding that day. Some of the circumstances that paint a much different picture, at least for me. And it begins with, there were so many people, we had to split up into 3 boats. Talking about how many people were in their group that were going out to Horn Island that day. It was not Nolan Wells and 2 or 3 friends. It was a much larger group that needed to be split into 3 separate boats. So it was a large group of people who were going out. Now, I don't know if this number is accurate, but Warren Hudson said that there were roughly 2 to 3, maybe 4,000 people there, speaking about the entire Horn Island, which is miles long. And he was describing rows and rows of boats that were lined up and tied down and anchored down all around different parts of the island, which again expands miles. It's a relatively big barrier island. Now he's describing where Nolan was. Nolan was on Wyatt's 22 Triton, which is I guess a type of boat. Nolan rode out on the Triton. We had a Palm Beach. I guess that's another type of boat. 18 Palm Beach. There were 4 guys on that. There were like 8 people on the Triton, and the rest of the group, 10 to 15, 16 people on my buddy's tide line. So they got a Triton, a Palm Beach, and a tide line, 3 different types of boats, 3 different sizes. You've got 4 people on one, 8 people on the one that Nolan is on, and another 10 to 16 people on the 3rd boat. So this is a large group, which means there should be a lot of information coming from these folks. He also says, when we got there, I helped my buddies tie the boats up. So the boats were tied together. So all 3 boats were next to one another. So again, they remained as a group. And what were they doing that day? Exactly what we thought. Everybody's drinking. It was the 4th of July. It's a big party, basically a big party. But how does a party result in the death of Nolan Wells? That's a question that still has not been answered. But we have a much clearer picture today of what the scene was like and what some of the results of the autopsy are. That's it for now. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. Until
I'm gonna go ahead and do let's see. We're just gonna go ahead and listen to this interview. Let me see, we got TMZ. Oh, let's listen to Ben Crump on TMZ, and then we're gonna go into the 3-part interview because another part has come out, y'all. It's now 3 parts to that interview with Warren. So let's listen to the TMZ with Ben Crump, and then we'll listen to the interview.
Hey, welcome to the TMZ podcast. I'm Branson Quirk. Eric Wilson. Eric is back. Day 2 of Eric Wilson being back. Got a lot of fans out there, Eric. I know. A lot of fans.
Love you all. Thank you guys so much for the support. Buy my new album. Drops. The argument is, if there is any wrongdoing there, if there's not any wrongdoing, you would think by now there would be statements or something coming. Maybe there's waiting for these findings to be done. So yeah, so we spoke to Ben Crump on TMZ Live. Let's hear what he had to say.
With this autopsy, the independent autopsy that you did, you mentioned that obviously, I think the part that people are really focusing on is that you mentioned that there was this discoloration, this red coloration on the back of Nolan's head. Did the examiner who looked at him have any inkling about what that might be?
And he did find that very significant, that you had this red discoloration in the back of his brain, in that occipital region of the brain, of the head. Also, he found it very significant. He said that they did not send his throat with his body in the second autopsy. He said when he was the chief medical examiner of DC, this is something that's common. He said normally he would do it when they were investigating and studying whether there were fractures to the neck or some kind of, compressions to his vertebrae. So that is significant, he found. And the most significant thing, he said, what is the crux of the matter that we do not know, and that is, what was the condition of Nolan Wells' body when he entered the water? Was he conscious or was he unconscious?
You mentioned that that the initial autopsy, that the lungs had been dissected, but was your examiner able to see the lungs at all, or were they also removed?
No, they were able to see the lungs. However, Charles, remember the state medical examiner for Mississippi got to observe the body when it was first recovered. That Dr. Roger Mitchell, the independent pathologist that we hired, seen the body until 6 days later. He is going to have to rely on photographs that were taken by the Mississippi medical examiner. We will believe that they would have taken photographs and their observations, whether there was water in the lungs and water in his airways. We know that some from the United Cajun Navy said that his body didn't seem bloated.
It's just
so. The independent autopsy was conducted by Dr. Roger Mitchell, a board-certified forensic pathologist, president of the National Medical Association, former president of Howard, and former chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. So it was a legitimate, independent investigation, obviously, and there's still undetermined causes aside from this 12/8 bruising in the back of the head. So obviously more details will come out. There's a lot
where do we go from here is what people want to know.
I guess just getting answers from the friends. The parents also spoke at the press conference today, and Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, said that, obviously the pain of losing a child is immeasurable, and they just want answers. They want to discover what happened to Nolan on that boat in the water, how he got there, and why no one is speaking up. So,
I mean, there is a consequence to not speaking. So these kids and these friends, if they choose to keep being silent until school starts this fall, which is like a month away for them, how old are they? 18?
Yeah.
So if they go to college, like these guys are gonna.
It's like
a lot of people
my
are
life's
gonna.
just starting. I can't, just because my friend died in an accident, that could be why they're trying to cover it up. And,
right.
It
feels like a major cover up. Like there was some type of accident. Obviously,
that's the thing. Like people are like, oh, people are just jumping to conclusions. They're making it a race thing. It's like it is suspicious. Why is no one talking? Why aren't there more answers that when he was on a crowded lake, Horn Island in Mississippi, and nobody saw anything? So with that being said, Al Sharpton and Tyler Perry both have offered $50,000 each for any information leading to an arrest and conviction of anything, if that was the case in this incident.
And who's to say that somebody hasn't already started speaking and that we don't know about it, because they're not going to jeopardize the investigation. But some serious stuff if these kids had anything to do with this.
Yeah, so definitely stay tuned. It's a mystery we hope we get an answer to quickly.
Moving on to the biggest movie of the century, The Autopsy. The century.
Not just the summer?
All right, so let's get on that. We're going to listen to part 1, 2, and 3 of the Tatum interview with this guy.
So Warren, I'm gonna ask you some very pointed questions. I mean, just straight out. The first thing I want to ask you is, did you kill Nolan? All right, Warren, we had a chance to get to know each other over the last 2 days, went out to Horn Island. So I've had an opportunity to talk to you about a few things, and the things that you've told me have literally blown my mind. But the world haven't had a chance yet to hear your story, to hear Nolan's story through you, through his friend. And it's not just you, it's a bunch of y'all. But some of the other guys were afraid because of the threats and the violence that's been threatened against their lives and all of the above. But you decided that you wanted to take this bold step and give a statement and, get your side out here. And I want to start at the very beginning of all of this and ask you, what was your relationship like with Nolan? Who was he to you?
Nolan, I could describe Nolan in a million ways. I mean, Nolan was not just a best friend of me, but he was a brother. I grew up through elementary, middle school, high school, and even our freshman year of college, we talked on the phone all the time. We were really close friends. And Nolan was like a brother to me. And Nolan lit up every room he walked in. He always had a smile on his face. He always had something good to say. I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody and say bad things about someone. There's a lot of people that talk crap nowadays, and Nolan was never that person. Sweetest soul ever. And I mean, I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never got in an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you kind of grew up together. Mm-hmm. Did you know his mom, or how was that? Because I saw in the media where it appears that she may have said, at least I saw in part, that she said as if she didn't know any of you guys.
Right. Well, Nolan, a lot of the times was at like my house and at my buddy's house. We never went to Nolan's house and hung out. I mean, and my friend group's very, very tight knit. I mean, we hang out every day when we're back home from school. In high school, we hung out most weekdays and every day on the weekend. And I mean, we were never at Nolan's house, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I met his father, and I mean, in 8th grade, that's when Nolan and I like got really close because it was COVID year, and we were in class all year long together, me and a couple of my buddies, and Nolan and I just got super tight because we get a Waffle House once a week together, eat, and I mean, we were just super, super close. But his dad would swing by Waffle House, you know, and like, you know, hang out around us, but never, you know, I was never around Nolan's parents a lot, but I mean, that didn't change our relationship any. Nolan and I were still just as close, and he was just as close with my friends as, you know, anyone else. So.
And walk me through the day of 4th of July where you guys were all going out. This seems like something that I would assume.
What you say is a lot, Tanya. I'm gonna back it up. Let me back it up.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you kind of grew up together.
I've never seen Nolan get in an argument with somebody
They didn't grow up together, that's for one.
and say bad things about someone. You know, there's a lot of people that talk crap nowadays, and Nolan was never that person. Sweetest soul ever. And I mean, I had a great relationship with Nolan. I've never got in an argument with Nolan. We were super close, and I've never said or will ever have anything bad to say about Nolan Wells.
Yeah, and you guys, you said you kind of grew up together. Did you know his mom, or how was that? Because I saw in the media where it appears that she may have said, at least I saw in part, that she said as if she didn't know any of you guys.
Right. Well, Nolan, a lot of the times was at like my house and at my buddy's house. We never went to Nolan's house and hung out. I mean, and my friend group's very, very tight knit. I mean, we hang out every day when we're back home from school. In high school, we hung out most weekdays and every day on the weekend. And I mean, we were never at Nolan's house, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But I met his father, and I mean, in 8th grade, that's when Nolan and I like got really close because it was COVID year, and we were in class all year long together, me and a couple of my buddies, and Nolan and I just got super tight because we get a Waffle House once a week together, eat, and I mean, we were just super, super close. But his dad would swing by Waffle House, you know, and like, you know, hang out around us, but never, you know, I was never around Nolan's parents a lot, but I mean, that didn't change our relationship any. Nolan and I were still just as close, and he was just as close with my friends as, you know, anyone else. So.
And walk me through the day of 4th of July where you guys were all going out. This seems like something that I would assume that may have occurred more than just this year.
Yeah, of course.
Was it something that you guys did more than just this year? Just a 2-part question. I want to know, is it something that you guys typically did together, that you hang out often in this fashion? And then I want you to then walk me through 4th of July this year when the incident happened.
Okay. You know, being from the Gulf Coast, there's boating and fishing is very, very popular. The 4th of July, every year, my friends and I, or my family and I, are out on the water. I mean, that's the one day is guaranteed everybody's going out. And that's a known thing. Everybody's trying to get a ride out to Horn Island, or, you know, people go to Ship Island, but most of everybody from Ocean Springs and the Gulf Coast go to Horn Island. And, you know, we went last year. Nolan was on the boat with me last year. And he was, I mean, this was a common thing. My friends go on the boat when we were home. Very, very common. That's what we like to do. My friends like to fish also, and like to go on the boat, not just fishing, but like to go on the boat, like to go on sunset cruises, like to do it all, you know, on the water, you know. And I mean, Nolan loved to do that too. I mean, he was not like he was just like everyone else in our friend group. He loved to go on the water and, you know, have a good time with the guys. And that's what we did a lot. But 4th of July, everybody was out there. Like I said, like Nolan was always trying to go on the boat, trying to go out there with us. And he was always welcome to come. Nolan was always out there with us. And but started 4th of July, you know, my buddies and I had talked about this week's upcoming, you know, everybody's very, very excited for the 4th of July from down here. Like it's a big thing.
It's a big deal. Huh?
Very, very big deal. And I mean, I actually stayed with Nolan that night at my buddy's house, and I woke up at my buddy's house, and we went to McDonald's, got food. Nolan was not with me. And I went and got breakfast. I had my buddy's boat hooked up to my truck. And well, first I ran to my house, then I went to McDonald's and came back, and the boat was already hooked up to my truck. My buddy Wyatt and I went, and with my buddy, and we went, filled the top of the boat off, loaded it down with ice, and just got everything ready. Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach. He's an 18-foot Palm Beach. And I drove the boat from Fort Bayou Boat Launch to my buddy's grandparents' house. And that's where we all plan to meet up that day. And
you say we all, who are you talking about? You, Nolan, and how many people are going to meet you guys there?
We had roughly 20 to 30 people coming on 3 separate boats with us. And so we were all following each other out there as one big group. You know, it wasn't just me and Nolan and a couple other my buddies. There was 20 or 30 people spread out where we all met at the dock before, and then we departed to go to Horn Island. It wasn't just a couple of us. I mean, there were so many people, we had to split between 3 boats, and we all left and all got there at the same time.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that's clear, because the statements that are out there made it appear that it was just you, Nolan, and probably 2 or 3 other guys, and y'all are the only ones that went out to this island.
And that's completely incorrect. I mean, Horn Island on the 4th of July is the most popular day to be on the water on, you know, throughout the entire Gulf Coast. I mean, everybody and their mom is on the water on 4th of July, you know. There's no telling. I mean, roughly probably 2 to 3, maybe even 4,000 people out there. There were boats lined up off the island. I mean, there was 3 rows of boats all the way until my vision ended, until I could see of people from, I mean, there was 1 row of boats, and then there was another row of boats, and then there was a 3rd row of boats. Yeah. I mean, there was people lined up all up and down the island to where, I mean, who knows? I mean, and that wasn't just, we were parked on the north side, on the west tip. It wasn't just there. I mean, there's tons of people packed out on the south side and on the east end and in the middle of the island. But just where we were, I mean, there was easily 1,000 people. It wasn't just us.
Let's go back a little bit. I want to go back to you guys at the dock, getting on the boat. You're saying there's multiple people, probably 20 or 30 people getting on 3 boats.
Right.
What boat were you on, and what boat was Nolan on?
Nolan was on YF-22 Triton. On the way out, I went with my buddy Bart, because we had a lot of friends from college coming down, and Bart, I called Bart that.
Well, he is distant, and I don't know this, you know, if this means anything, but he's distant. Damn, I can't even get it out. Himself from Nolan, as far as being on the boat. He's saying that he wasn't even on the same boat as Nolan, if I'm not mistaken. Let's listen.
Nolan was on YF-22 Triton. On the way out, I went with my buddy Bart, because we had a lot of friends from college coming down, and
he said on the way out. Now, all this time it's been said that Nolan and this guy and I think 2 others was on the boat together. He's saying he wasn't on the same boat as Nolan. This is what he's saying.
Bart, I called Bart that morning. I was like, "Hey man, can you take your boat out?" And he's like, "Yeah, well, my dad decided not to go, and I'll take the boat. And I'll take you and your friends." Of course, I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and I mean, I rode out there with Bart and a lot of the girls that go to college with my friends and I, and Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton, and then there was 8 or 9 people on the Triton, and then there was the rest of the group, which was probably ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line, which is 24 tide line.
And so you guys get on, and I know a little bit more than the audience do, because we went out there a little earlier, because I wanted to see exactly what the drive was like, what the dock was like, how far it is out there. Of course. But I want you to tell, you know, the audience, like, what was this trip like? You know, how was the?
I have a question though. If he went out to Horn Island with this guy, why they ain't record there? Like, why they, you know, why we don't see no footage? Or maybe we will. I don't know. But I think it's weird. Now, he's a cop or an ex-cop, so they say, right? So he must have got in one of their boats and took his jughead ass out to Horn Island. Why we don't see footage of that? Let's listen. He said he went out there. They went out there.
Waters, you know, that you guys are
range from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line, which is 24 tide line.
And so you guys get on, and I know a little. Bit more than the audience do, because we went out there a little earlier.
Right.
Hold on, y'all. Let me see something. I'll bring it back up.
I wanted to see exactly what the what the drive was like, what the dock was like, how far it is out there.
Of course.
But I want you to tell, the audience, like, what was this trip like? How was the waters? Did you guys do anything in between the time you rode and the time you get to the island? Was there music? Is it like a big party? Like, what is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously music's blasting. It's 4th of July, man. I mean, everybody's really excited. And I mean, we had a lot of people loaded down. So obviously our biggest, we're just trying to make sure everybody, gets out there safe. And so, I mean, on the way out there, it was pretty calm. I think it was blowing like 3 or 4 knots. I mean, the waters were clear. It was a great day to be on the water. Sunshine.
Can y'all hear it now, Tanya? I was playing it. You said we'll be back. Can you hear it? Let me know if you can hear it or hear me. Okay. All right. Thank you, Tanya.
Between the time you rode and the time you get to the island, was there music? Is it like a big party? Like, what is that?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously music's blasting. It's 4th of July, man. I mean, everybody's really excited. And I mean, we had a lot of people loaded down. So obviously our biggest, we're just trying to make sure everybody, gets out there safe. And so, I mean, on the way out there, it was pretty calm. I think it was blowing like 3 or 4 knots. I mean, the waters were clear. It was a great day to be on the water. Sunshine, not cloudy at all. And I mean, it was a great day to be out there on 4th of July. And so, I mean, we followed each other out and I mean, it was calm. It was calm. On the way back, it was a little more rough, but it was not anything all my buddies' boats couldn't handle, or like, it wasn't like we were getting really beat up or anything. I mean, it was pretty calm.
And so you guys get out there. I'm assuming that you line the boats up, because I'm envisioning a picture of getting out there and there's hundreds of boats. Mm-hmm. There's thousands of people. Yeah. So it wasn't just you guys on a deserted island.
Of course not.
A few people. There's just thousands of people out there.
Right.
And there's a lot of people doing what? What does it look like when you first pull up?
I pull up and we pulled up at 10:30. I mean, it wasn't, early afternoon. I mean, it wasn't, but 10:30 is, it's still pretty early in the day. And when we got there was already 3 rows of boats lined up all the way, like I said, until I could see. And
when you say all you can see, you're speaking about miles of boat. When we went out there earlier today, when we went out there, the island is massive.
Correct.
I mean, it's just several miles long.
Roughly 10 to 12 miles. I mean, it's.
So you think that the boats were stretching from one end to the next, or just a small area of about a mile or less than a mile of boats?
Well, I mean, I think there was boats all the way around the entire island, but I think some spots were more popular than others. Like the West Tip is usually very, very crowded on the 4th of July, and everybody knows that. So that's where a lot of people park, because they want to be around other people. And the East End's a little more, there's not as many people, but there's still a lot of boats out there. I mean, it's not like every area of Horn Island is covered 100%.
Wow. So you get out there, y'all jump out. What do you do? When I say jump out, you're obviously not just sitting on the boat. The island is there. Like, what exactly are people doing there? Like, are you spending more time in the water, on the island, in the boat? Like, how is that look out there?
I mean, everybody, as soon as you get there, I mean, there's people on boats, grabbing drinks and, food, whatever else. Like, I mean, everybody is fully prepared for the 4th of July. They bring, all the drinks and food that they need, because, I mean, they've been preparing for 4th for a little while now. But when we got there, I helped my buddies tie the boats up, because the tie line was right here, the Palm Beach was in the middle, and then the Triton was on the outer side. And there was about a drop off from where the bow was. I mean, if you jumped off the bow, you're probably about neck deep in water. But if you got off the stern, you were probably waist deep in water. I mean, but when we got there, we tied up, got, bow and rear anchor set, and we tied up all the boats, made sure they were good, and everyone just got in the water. Then eventually, next thing you know, it's our group. And then, next thing you know, there's 50 other people around us. And then it just grew and grew as the day came on. And, I mean, that's just how it was. Everybody's drinking, I mean, it's 4th of July. Everyone's just trying to enjoy themselves. And, it's a big party, basically. Big party.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good time. Just like anybody would imagine, 18-year-olds, probably 20-year-olds, college students, out on the island, women, you probably had alcohol. So y'all having a good time.
Yeah, of course.
And so where's Nolan in this? You guys out there, the friend groups out there, 3 boats full of people that came out there that seem to be the closest friend group.
Right.
Where's Nolan in this in comparison to where you and others are at?
Well, I had a couple conversations with Nolan that day, and I talked to him and a couple of my other buddies. In a group, I was not focused on anyone solely, like looking and pointing anyone out, because there's so many people out there. I mean, I was talking to my friends that I haven't seen in a while from high school. I was talking to people.
It's amazing to me, and it could be true, but I'm just paying attention, right? So, like I said earlier, it's amazing to me how at this point now, this guy is coming out here to try to distance himself from Nolan. He done distanced himself from him on the boat, him being with him on the boat. Now that they're on the island, he is further trying to distance himself from Nolan. Oh, I spoke to Nolan, but I ain't just sit up under Nolan. Ain't nobody saying all that. But you making it a point to distance yourself from Nolan. I'm just paying attention. I ain't saying, I'm just saying. Okay? Listen, y'all, listen. He is distancing himself.
On that day, and I talked to him and a couple of my other buddies. They in a group. I was not focused on anyone solely, like looking and pointing anyone out, because there's so many people out there. I mean, I was talking to my friends that I haven't seen in a while from high school. I was talking from people I knew from college. I was talking to, you know, everybody my age, and even people older than us were, you know, over there. Like, I mean, it was just a regular thing. You know, we're all used to this. We've been out to the islands before. My buddies don't just go out to the island on 4th of July, but they go out, you know, every weekend. Like, I fish the islands. I don't just, you know, fish around Horn Island. I fish around Ship Island too. So I'm very familiar with the islands, and I feel like it was just a big. I talked to Nolan, and, you know, Nolan was drinking. Everybody was drinking, most of everybody. And I mean, Nolan seemed completely fine every time I talked to him. We had just regular conversations, and, you know, Nolan was making me laugh. I had a couple conversations with Nolan and Javon, Nolan, my buddy James, Nolan. And I mean, I can tell you, I mean, I talked to Nolan a couple times, but it wasn't like I was strictly sitting there talking to Nolan the whole day. I mean, there was hundreds of people I knew out there. So,
yeah. And Nolan said something interesting. You told me about this. Something he said to you, I would say would be indicative of y'all's friendship.
Right.
And then he also mentioned something to you about that particular day and what it meant to him.
Right.
And could you share that?
Right. Yeah. So Nolan and my buddy Javon are talking, and, you know, I grew up with Nolan, and Nolan's, you know, just like I said, like, just so joyful, like always happy. Like, every picture I have with Nolan or picture I have of Nolan, he's smiling. I mean, like, he's always happy. If I always need like a shed of light, I'm calling Nolan, you know. And Nolan and I laugh and joke a lot. Like, that's how our friend group is. We're really jokingly laugh. You know, no one takes anything that serious. You know, we enjoy our time with together. I mean, there's never any awkwardness with our friend group. We're very, very tight. So
y'all got to remember, the feds are always watching, right? So I just mentioned, where's the evidence or where's the video or anything that shows that he went out to this island with this young man? He has a picture on his community wall from yesterday that shows, I guess, the picture, the angle of the picture looks weird to me, but he has a picture of him on the island. He's got several pictures, but the pictures are so, like, nah, I ain't going with these pictures. I'm just not, because he altered them. He altered the pictures. Nah. Okay, y'all go see for yourself, but I'm gonna keep this playing.
if I ever need to get something off my chest or talk to anybody, I'm talking to all my friends. I'm not just talking to like specifically anybody. I would go out, like, even if I'm having issues with something, I go talk to my group chat, and my guys are there to give me a hand anytime I need it. And all my guys.
His channel name is the Officer Tatum. Okay, y'all dip out. Make sure y'all come back, but go. His channel is named the Officer Tatum. Right? Go to his community wall and tell me what you think of those photos. It could be just me because y'all know how I am.
All my buddies are the same exact way. Nolan was the same exact way. If you ever need something, I'm here, man. Like, that's how he was. So.
And then you guys get ready to leave prematurely.
Right.
And explain that, because you guys got there around 10.
Yeah.
It's now 4:30. Right. People are still out there partying and
right.
they're having a good time, but something happened to where it necessitated you guys to get the boat up and running. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So.
Part 2. Let's do part 2.
Some of the boys that they're accusing wasn't even on the boat that Nolan was on.
If I'm sitting waist deep in water.
Right, here it is. This is footage. This is footage right here. See, I spoke too soon. So this is him actually on the island.
And all my friends everybody's leaving their phone on the boat. I open the back hatch, and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah, we're in Mississippi right now. We're getting ready to recount the exact path that the boys took, also with Nolan Wells, from where they docked the boat at, all the way out to Horn Island and back. The boys are going to explain to me exactly what went on, how many people were there, how many boats were taken out, which I think the world is going to be completely dumbfounded when they realize what the
That's not true. Ain't nobody dumbfounded. You're just dumb, bitch. You're dumb.
Truth really is, because the lies have been pervasive. So we're right here where Nolan left on the boat, and you'll find out how many people were there, how many boats, and then we're going to take that same path out. I'm going to go look at Horn Island and see exactly where they could have been to get a perspective that the media don't even care to try to do. And then we're going to take the trek back, and we're going to find out exactly what happened to Nolan. This is the reason why I'm here, man. I want you guys to have a voice. I want you guys to be able to speak out and show what the truth really is, and then let the world decide. I just don't want you guys to end up in a situation where your story never gets heard. Right here, is where Nolan and probably 20 other kids got on the boat. So it's not just Nolan and 3 other kids. That was a lie. That was a myth. I'm going to prove that.
Who said that though? Wait a minute. So now, like I said, at this point, so from the beginning, we thought, y'all, and this is because this is the story that was told, that it was Nolan and 3 other kids on the boat. That's what we was told. Now, yeah, let's listen.
Let the world decide. I just don't want you guys to end up in a situation where your story never gets heard. Right here is where Nolan and probably 20 other kids got on the boat. So it's not just Nolan and 3 other kids. That was a lie. That was a myth. I'm going to prove that. Right here is where the kids were docking. We're going to show you a video that coincided. I'm going to walk at the exact angle that the video is being broadcast from, so you know that I'm exactly where I say I am. But the boys were here. Tons of people you'll see on the video is getting onto the boat, and they took 3 boats out. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just Nolan and 4 boys. It was a multitude of people on several different boats. And some of the boys they're accusing weren't even on the boat that Nolan was on. But let me show you from the vantage point where I have the video to prove that I'm here where I say I am. And so right now, here's the angle that you're going to see on the footage. It's just from probably that boat to, maybe about 30, 40 feet here to the right. And this is where the video is showing how many people were actually out there, actually getting on the boats. So therefore, it debunks very clearly that it was only Nolan and 4 boys going out here to Horn Island.
Why would people be saying that though? This is a whole fucking lie. This is what you call distraction, man. This is what you call manipulation. Ain't nobody never said they was the only ones on the island. That is bullshit. Why would anybody say that when there's clear footage? One of the first piece of evidence that was released was them on the island, and you see thousands, hundreds, I'm gonna say, of people. So why would anybody say it was just them 4 on the island? Oh my God. Okay. Let's continue to listen. I give him his props for going out there, though. I give him that. He's being paid good. You know what I'm saying? I give him his props for going out there because I wouldn't have went out there with the fuckers. I'm just saying. You couldn't get me out there on that island with them. I mean, I'm just saying.
All right, you guys, sorry about the sunglasses. It's very bright out here, and I never wear sunglasses, but we're at Horn Island and almost the exact same position where the boys were, where Nolan was. So if you look out right here, just so you guys can get a perspective, you have the Horn Island here, but I want you guys to put this in your mind, what this was like on that day. You have boats 2, 3, 4 deep from way down there where you can see all the way through here. You have thousands of people on this island, probably 2,000 people. So this wasn't some abandoned, secluded island where nobody.
Ain't nobody never said that bullshit. This man here is a whole motherfucking man. You coon. You a whole motherfucking token black nigga. Like for real. Ain't nobody never made it seem like they was on no damn secluded island and they did something to know that. See, y'all see how this shit go. Now I'm getting triggered. Y'all, Tanya, now I'm getting triggered. Because I hate it when motherfuckers like this try to play in people's faces. Ain't nobody never said that shit. Y'all ass should have been left out there, bitch. Like they should have left you. For real.
At. Obviously, this is a Monday, and there's a few people on the backside of the island, not a lot of people here. But on 4th of July, this is a celebration. And so this wasn't a small place where 4 boys took their black friend and dropped him off and never seen him again. This place was flooded with people. Tons of people, multiple boats, multiple friend groups. I mean, everybody's here having a good time. And then the boat gets towed out because it was getting ready to sink. And so, and for what I was told, they told Nolan, get on the boat, man. Get on the boat. Get on the freaking boat. And he decided, because he's an adult, that he was going to stay behind. And all the boys that they've been accusing, and they saying it had something to do with his death, they were all gone at 4:30. They were all gone. And they told Nolan to get on the boat. He didn't. And then there was a report of somebody seeing Nolan around 6:30-ish.
Who said that? I ain't heard shit about somebody seeing him at no 6:30. Who said that? Oh, he got evidence that I ain't even heard. Who said that? Because from what I understand, nobody saw him.
So for them to come out and claim these lies, won't take the time to come to Horn Island, won't take the trip out here to figure out what happened, won't talk to anybody, pushing an agenda is wrong. And that's the reason why I came out here. I wanted to see for myself, what did this look like? What could have happened? You know, does the stories line up based on what I've seen and what I've heard from people that live here that were involved in this situation? This is where the lie started. People were putting out on social media, knowing that they're lying, that this is what it was like on the day that Nolan and his friends came out here to Horn Island.
Oh man, this man is a whole motherfucking distraction. This man is a whole fucking liar. He's a whole fucking token. Like, they are putting him out. This is lies. Who in the fuck would have thought that island would have been damn near deserted on the 4th of July?
If it was 4 or 5 people and they came out here and Nolan was with them and maybe it was a few people out here like it is today and Nolan came up missing, then maybe it would be suspicious. But they didn't take the time to give context to the people because they're evil and they're liars. So if it was like that right now, when the situation happened, I can see how people had a concern. But you got to replay this moment with thousands of people here. If anything would have happened directly involving Nolan and his friends, you can't tell me that thousands of people wouldn't have seen anything happen. And so that's pretty much why I wanted to come here and show you guys.
You can say the same about him drowning. You can say the same thing about him drowning. You can't tell me that it was thousands and thousands of people on that island and nobody seen him drowning. So what the fuck are you saying? Nothing.
This is what they want you to believe it was like on that day, which is a lie. They want you to believe they came to a secluded island, just 4 of them, and then Nolan is left behind, and then his body's washed up on shore.
That ass lie. This man is a mess, man. Who in the fuck? No one. You know what? And he used to be a cop. That's why we know it's crooked cops out there. He probably was one of them.
And nobody knows what happened. Nobody could have seen what happened but the boys. It's a flat out lie.
And he keep repeating that lie over and over again. Y'all notice that? He keep repeating that lie over and over again.
Is there anything that you want to say, you want people to know about this whole experience?
Yeah, I mean, from someone, if someone's not from here, it's kind of hard to understand, you know, where the island drops off and how the island works. But, you know, there's plenty of people out here, especially on the 4th of July, you know, this is where people come out to celebrate. And I mean, if you fill the water, you can see right here, Brandon, where it drops off. I mean, you can see literally where it drops off. So, I mean, it goes from about waist deep water right there to neck deep. And then it drops from neck deep all the way to like 17, 20 foot. I mean, we weren't in a quarter mile off the island and when we were leaving, and I mean, it was 30 foot of water. Yeah. But I mean, we're walking towards the east right now, but if you walk down to the west, that's where the west tip of the island is. And that's where the current picks up very, very bad.
People talk about the phone situation. I want to, because the way you articulate it, I just walk in the water with my pants on, they're wet. And you can tell right away that if you're hanging out in the water, it doesn't appear, in my opinion, that you would have your phone on you. Is that typical for people to have their phones or?
No, I mean, people come out here, especially on the 4th and, you know, Memorial Day, like, you know, days like that, they come out here to celebrate and people get on the water to be off their phones, first off. Second off, if I'm sitting waist deep in water and all my friends are, everybody's leaving their phone on a boat, in a lake, you know, if you're sitting on a pond, and no one's getting out of the water with their phone in their hand, unless, you know, it's to take a quick picture. But most of the pictures taken on the 4th of July were on the boat. Yeah. I mean, and, you know, salt water, if you drop your phone in salt water, most of the time you're not going to get it back. Yeah. I mean, you know, especially.
He said most of the pictures that we're taking is on the boat. Well, how come Nolan don't have no pictures on the boat then? So Nolan wasn't taking pictures on the boat? How come? And I hope and pray that he asked him how they ended up with his phone and why the mama had to track the phone. But let's listen.
The water's murky right now because there's been a lot of rain. You can't see, the visibility isn't good. The water isn't clear like it was last year around this time. And, you know, like no one has their phone though, usually. I mean, unless you're crazy, I'm not walking around with my phone in my hand. I've been walking around Horn Island, you know.
How many people left the phone on the boat? Was it just his phone when y'all left, or
I mean,
other people have phones
absolutely
on the boat?
not. Like there was at least, well, I rode out here on a boat, like I told you, and I grabbed my phone when I left the Palm Beach to get on the boat with Triton. I mean, to get on the boat with White because we were having, you know, boat issues. And when I got on the boat, there was phones everywhere on the console. I mean, everywhere. Like, I mean, there was everybody's phone that was sitting around the boat was on the console. Like, we had phones that we didn't even know whose they were, you know. And people just leave their phone, especially when people are drinking and, you know, they're not in the right state of mind. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll just leave my phone, I'll get it later, you know. And that's the way it is around here. You know, you don't take your phone and walk around the island. You know, there's plenty of phones on the boat.
Crazy, because you can imagine that people will be taking pictures and stuff. I can see you getting in the water, not having your phone, but just walking around the island, people gonna have their phone, or there wouldn't be video out there. There wouldn't be pictures and video. Idiot. You saying you get on the island, you throw your phone, your phone in the boat, and bam, it just stays there. No. And like I said, he continues to distance himself from Nolan. Pay attention.
And, spread out between the 3 boats that we had. And, I mean, we had 20 plus people on the spread between our 3 boats. So, of course, everybody's phone was on the. I never saw someone in the water that day sitting with their phone in their hand, scrolling on anything, or even taking pictures in the water.
He's a liar. He is lying. Yeah, he's an ex-cop, so they say.
I mean, we had 20 plus people on the spread between our 3 boats. So, of course, everybody's phone was on the. I never saw someone in the water that day sitting with their phone in their hand, scrolling on anything.
Of course, you're not going to have the phone in the water, dumbass. But that don't mean that people ain't walking around with their phones. How's that video? How is there video out there? Nobody was having their phone on the island.
Or even taking pictures in the water. Yeah, someone might hop out the boat. A lot of girls like to take pictures, in the water. And so do guys, but, girls want to take pictures in the water. Half a second, you might hop out the boat and be like, oh, I'm snapping this picture of myself or of someone else. But as soon as I get back in the boat, I'm putting my phone up and I'm getting back.
So you just said it. People have their phones in the water. Which one is it, Dud? Which one is it? Do people do or do not have their phone in the water? If they're taking pictures in the water, they got their phones in the water. Stop it. Just stop it.
Back in the water and I'm hanging out with my friends.
Yeah, that's common sense, man. And describe to me what the day was like. I saw a video online. How hectic was it out here? I mean, right now it's barren. There's not a lot of people out here,
right.
But clearly that's not what it was on the 4th of July. So,
right.
Like, how dense was it with people here?
Well, I mean, you look at all the videos, that are spread out online. And a lot of them, you can't believe what you see all the time online. You know that better than anybody. But, I mean, there was boats lined up all the way down the island. And there was rows. There was a first row, there's a second row. We were in the 3rd row where it drops off. And then there was even boats in front of us. And this went all the way down towards the east end of the island. And then there was people on the east tip. And we're on the north side now, but there was people on the south side too, lined up all the way down. And if you talk to anybody on the coast about this, they know that. Yeah. I mean, 4th of July, this is the hot spot. This is where people want to be. This is where people want to come out, hang out with their family and friends.
And people say that you guys just left Nolan behind. I've seen reports of people saying that you just left him. I see reports of people saying that you asked him to get on the boat. You told him to get on the boat. He didn't. What's the truth in that?
Well, Wyatt was having boat issues and the bilge wouldn't pump. So the bilge is basically a pump that releases water from your boat when water comes in. So I opened the back hatch and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. There's water almost coming over the transom, which is where your motors sit and which is by the stern, like in the back part of the boat. So obviously we were in an emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah. I'm glad you cleared that up because I think it's important for people to have the context of like what it was on that day, what happened, what didn't happen.
The girl saved her, like in the back part of the boat. So I opened the back hatch and there's water up to the batteries. And that is obviously not good. There's water almost coming over the transom, which is where your motors sit and which is by the stern, like in the back part of the boat. So obviously we were in an emergency. The boat, we're trying to save the boat. It's not like we didn't ask Nolan or we just left Nolan. Nolan decided to stay on the island with the girl that he was with. And the girl is a witness to that too.
Yeah. I'm glad you cleared that up because I think it's important for people to have the context of like what it was on that day, what happened, what didn't happen. And the beauty of all of this is that you guys have evidence to prove that, of course, you asked Nolan to come on and different things like that. So, but anyway, man, I appreciate you, giving me a rundown of kind of what it was like on that day.
Right.
And hopefully people can understand what the truth is and make their own decision on facts.
Right. I mean, based off people, there's not a lot of people that are from the Mississippi Gulf Coast that don't understand Horn Island and don't understand the way boating works. And, boating is a tight-knit community. I like to fish a lot. And, there's, everybody, a lot of people know. A lot of people, everybody knows everybody. I know a lot of fishermen on the Gulf Coast. They know me and my buddies because we like to go in the water all the time. I mean, that's what we do in the summer. And, a lot of people from the
like on that day.
Right.
And hopefully people can understand what the truth is and make their own decision on facts.
Right. I mean, based off people, there's not a lot of people that are from the Mississippi Gulf Coast that don't understand Horn Island and don't understand the way boating works. And, boating is a tight knit. I like to fish a lot. And, there's, everybody, a lot of people know the Gulf Coast. They know me and my buddies because we like to go in the water all the time. I mean, that's what we do in the summer. And, a lot of people from the Gulf Coast know the truth behind, you don't take your phone out the boat. The little facts. It's a difficult subject. This Horn Island's like 11 miles long, not to be exact, but around 11 miles long. It's not like this is a sliver of an island. It's a quarter mile. It's like a sandbar. No, this goes on. Even if we came around this corner right here, Brandon, we couldn't even see the end of the island.
Oh, really?
It's that long.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I thought that was the end right there.
No. I mean, it goes all the way down there. And I mean, it's a big island. There's a lot of people out here. And I mean, that's the truth. That's the way it was.
Okay. Hold on, y'all. We about to do part 3.
All right, so I want to be clear with this one thing because I know you mentioned before. Is there any chance or any knowledge that you have that anybody deleted stuff from his phone?
I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me. Nolan lit up every room he walked in. 4th of July, everybody was out there. Nolan wrote out on the Triton. And then we had a Palm Beach.
1 second, y'all. We're going to get into part 3.
All right, so I want to be clear with this one thing because I know you mentioned before. Is there any chance or any knowledge that you have that anybody deleted stuff from his phone?
I mean, Nolan was like a brother to me. Nolan lit up every room he walked in. 4th of July, everybody was out there. Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There's 4 guys on that. The rest of the group, which was probably ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good time. And then you guys get ready to leave prematurely.
Right.
And explain that because you guys got there around 10.
Yeah.
It's now 4:30.
Right.
People are still out there partying and
Right.
they're having a good time, but something happened to where it necessitated you guys to get the boat up and running. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So I looked up, I had a girl come up to me and say, "Hey, your brother just got in a fight." And obviously I have a younger brother, and that's who she was talking about. And I was freaked out. So I walked over to the beach, and I didn't walk over. I ran over. I made a beeline. I didn't talk to anybody, put my drink down and walked over there. And my brother was kind of angry, and, there was a lot going on, but someone was getting pulled away. I don't know who it was. And my brother was like, oh, I just got in a fight. And this guy punched me in the face, and I punched him right back. And then went to the ground. My brother put him in an arm bar. And
was Nolan involved in any of this?
Absolutely not. When I was over there, it was a bunch of younger guys like my brother's age. And I mean, Nolan, I never saw Nolan over there. Yeah. Absolutely not. And, okay, sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
So you get ready to go. There's an issue with the boat.
Okay, yeah.
And this is what
this led up to that. That's what I was saying.
So the fight happened with your brother, or a little scuffle. I'm assuming that it was cleared up.
Right.
You got your brother out of that situation, and then how did you find out that this boat is sinking?
Well, I walk back over, and we're probably around each other for a little bit. I mean, I wasn't thinking anything about it. I told my brother, I pulled my brother off the beach, and I was just like, listen, get in the water, hang out with us, calm down. I mean, he was calm, but I didn't want anything else to happen, And so once I got back over the boat, I got on the Triton, and the Triton had probably about 6 inches of water up to the transom.
Right.
And I was freaked out because I'm good friends with Wyatt, and that was his boat. And, no water's coming out, no access water's coming out. And, it was a big issue because I think the reason was because there were so many people getting on and off the boat. And at some point, the boat was very, very crowded, and there was just a lot of people on, so that it drags water in. And eventually, I think over time, we were out there for a couple hours, the boat just started filling up with water. So I popped the starboard side hatch, and the battery was completely underwater. And so the motor wouldn't trim down. I mean, my buddy would go to trim it down from the console, and it'd trim down, and then it'd come right back up. And so Wyatt's trying to throw a rear anchor, so we're caught, and he's, yelling at people. Everybody's kind of freaking out. And eventually I'm like yelling at other people, trying to tell them, calm down. The boat could possibly sink, and I'm not paying attention to everyone around me. I was paying attention to my buddy's boat. And that's what all my other friends that were on that boat were doing, trying to solve the problem.
So you're on the boat now. The water's getting up to the point where the boat may be disabled to where you couldn't get it out from Horn Island. So what happens after that?
Wyatt jumps to the water, tries to throw a rear anchor, and my buddy Meyer, you're sitting looking, trying to pull trash out the bilge. And the bilge is basically a pump that pulls the access water out the boat. So the bilge was failing to work. So any excess water was just sitting in the boat. It wasn't getting pumped out. And I looked over the gunnel, and I looked at the release hole for the bilge, and it was even with the water. So, I mean, we're all freaking out. All of our, we're not focused on anything else other than the boat. Well, then eventually my buddy Bart on the tide line is like, I'm going to pull y'all out to where we're out of all this, all this chaos. Cause we left at 4:30, and there were still just as many people there, if not more than when we got there. I mean, probably around the same amount. I mean, it was crazy. There was a lot of people. And, I mean, eventually Bart pulls us out. We left at 4:30, but we really weren't pulled out away from everybody. We were probably about a quarter mile out, and we had the towing strap pulled from, Bart's port side cleat or starboard side cleat, and he was on our starboard side bow, and so it was rubbing on his power pole. So Bart turned around, pulled up next to our boat, and we were just trying to get it situated. So that's when Wyatt called Cito, and Wyatt was like, calls him, because the cell service isn't great at the island, but once you can use your phone, but stuff might not descend. And it's not great. You got maybe one bar, it won't work that well. But once you get a little off the island, you have cell coverage. And even on the island, I called my mom when we were on the island, it was fine. We had enough cell coverage to make a phone call or shoot a text over, but you don't have enough cell coverage to send a picture, for example. So what?
So I want to go back.
Yeah,
so I want to touch on that real quick, because the phone thing came up at some point. And so was it when you guys got off the boat?
Yeah.
I mean, were people taking their phones off the boat, or is that not typical? Because I know that Nolan's phone was left on the boat,
right?
Even though after you guys had left. So can you explain that? Because I think people need to understand this a little clearer.
Yeah.
Was it typical for people to have their phones left on boats, or did they keep their phones in the water?
Yeah. I mean, everybody kind of goes out to the island to get away from, their phones and everything else. I know I got on the boat to get away from, just the regular world. And no, when you're waist deep in water, no one's carrying their phone in their hand, especially at Horn Island. The water has been very, very murky because of the rain. And when it's just very risky. If you're gonna have your phone in the water, some people might for a couple minutes and maybe taking some pictures of each other. I know a lot of girls like to take pictures in the water at Horn Island. Guys do too.
It's verbatim. So far, when He's telling the story here, and he told the story on the island, and it's like verbatim. Rehearsed much? I'm just saying.
But a lot of the pictures you see are on the boat for a reason. And so, no, I mean, if someone is on their phone in the water, they're using it real quick and then putting it right back on the boat. We were all waist deep in water. No one's sitting there scrolling on their phone. I never saw that once. And I've never seen that once. And I've been out the island my whole life. I mean, that's just not something people do. People aren't on their phones. And everybody has their phone, yes, but it's always on the boat. No one's getting off the boat with their phone. So
you guys get ready to leave out of there, getting towed out.
Yeah.
And then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, Nolan was, the last time I saw Nolan was 3 o'clock. And Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie, Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there. And the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing. And I was like, dude, you crazy. I was like, just joking with him. And, but anyway, Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving, obviously, no one is getting left at the island that came with us unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing. But Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island. And like he said, how
many people heard that? Were there
at least 5. Everyone was on our boat right there because the Palm Beach had already left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys on the way back. And Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. I mean, we had multiple people in our group that rode out with us and rode in on someone else's boat. And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon thing to do. I mean, a lot of people do that. I can name probably 50 people out there that day that ran out with somebody and ran back in with somebody else. So, I mean, it's not like it's an uncommon thing, but it's not like we just left him there or my friends just left him there. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island after my friends asked him multiple times and told him to get on the boat, and he decided to stay.
And I heard the girl that he was with, Katie, had texted somebody that she heard people yelling for Nolan to get on. Is that true?
And I have a picture of that. She texted my buddy, and the next day everybody was panicking and everybody's texting Katie, because she was obviously seen with Nolan the whole day at the island. Katie sent a message to my buddy the next day and said, this is the last time I saw him, he's really sweet. But she also mentioned that the last time she saw Nolan was when my buddy was yelling at him to get on the boat. And she was right there to see that Nolan decided not to.
Yeah. And so you guys get in the boat, you start to get towed in, and you make it back.
Well, now she's lying to the cops when she said, so the Katie girl, now he's trying to make the Katie girl out to be a liar. Because the Katie girl said that Nolan told her he was finna get on the boat. So now he's putting Katie right there when someone is yelling, come get on the boat, and him denying, him saying, I'm not getting on the boat. Y'all see where this is going? Do y'all see this shit? I told y'all, these people always try to stay one step ahead of the game. And in the end, to be honest, a lot of times they fuck themselves. So now Katie's lying. He sat here and in this moment is making Katie out to be a liar, because Katie told the cops that Nolan said he was going to get on the boat. Now, Katie done told one of the friends. I want to see this evidence, because did he say he got proof? Hold on, let me see.
And I heard the girl that he was with, Katie, had texted somebody that she heard people yelling for Nolan to get on. Is that true?
And I have a picture of that. She texted my buddy, and the next day everybody was panicking and everybody's texting Katie, because she was obviously seen with Nolan the whole day at the island. Katie sent a message to my buddy the next day and said, this is the last time I saw him, he's really sweet. But she also mentioned that the last time she saw Nolan was when my buddy was yelling at him to get on the boat. And she was right there to see that Nolan decided not to.
Yeah. And so you guys get in the boat.
Wow.
You start to get towed in and you make it back.
So now, if you pay attention to how he put that, he's not saying that Katie texted to the friend that Nolan decided not to get on the boat. He's saying she was right there when Nolan decided not to get on the boat. This is amazing. How
did you get to the point where you were concerned about Nolan? Because obviously you said, hey, Nolan, y'all need to, or somebody, not
When
you,
did I get
but
to that point?
you guys had made mention Nolan need to get on a boat.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Yeah.
You guys get back to wherever you're going.
Right.
Explain that. Did you guys go back to somebody's house, or you
Right.
guys like what happened there? And then when did you feel like, well, wait a minute, where's Nolan?
Right. Okay. Well, running in was very chaotic. I mean, Nolan chose to stay on the island, so my focus wasn't on anything else other than the boat, you know, because if the boat doesn't get in, then no one gets in. You know, I don't want to sneak out there on my buddy's boat, and no one does. But my buddy Wyatt jumped out and pulled the plug on the boat once we kind of got out there, because he got the motor to trim down. And the motor trimmed down, my buddy Wyatt pulled the plug, and we planed off. We moved all the way to the front of the boat so we could plane off. And eventually we planed off, and the boat was running. So when you're planed off and you have water in the boat and you're hauling, you know, we're going pretty fast. We're going probably 40, 42 miles an hour. And so all that excess water that was built up in the boat is coming out of the boat. So, I mean, that's what we had to do. So we ran into Fort Bayou, and we didn't just run straight to my buddy's grandparents' house. We ran into Fort Bayou. A couple of us jumped in the water, and Wyatt, like the whole reason for the stop was so Wyatt could hop in and put the plug back in the boat. So then after that, we went and docked it, and I went back to my buddy's house, and we ate and, you know, napped for a little bit. It was a long day at the island, so, you know, we were all tired. And eventually we go over to, you know, a girlfriend of mine. She was having people over for 4th of July. Buddies had the plug, and we
there. And then when did you feel like, well, wait a minute? Now explain how did you get to the point where you were concerned about Nolan? Because obviously you said, hey, Nolan, y'all need to, or somebody, not
when
you,
did I get
but
to that point?
you guys had made mention Nolan need to get on a boat.
Yeah.
He didn't.
Yeah.
You guys get back to wherever you're going.
Right.
Explain that. Did you guys go back to somebody's house, or you
Right.
guys like what happened there? And then when did you feel like, well, wait a minute, where's Nolan?
Right. Okay. Well, running in was very chaotic. I mean, Nolan chose to stay on the island, so my focus wasn't on anything else other than the boat, you know, because if the boat doesn't get in, then no one gets in. You know, I don't want to sneak out there on my buddy's boat, and no one does. But my buddy Wyatt jumped out and pulled the plug on the boat once we kind of got out there, because he got the motor to trim down. And the motor trimmed down, my buddy Wyatt pulled the plug, and we planed off. We moved all the way to the front of the boat so we could plane off. And eventually we planed off. The boat was running. So when you're planed off and you have water in the boat and you're hauling, you know, we're going pretty fast. We're going probably 40, 42 miles an hour. And so all that excess water that was built up in the boat is coming out of the boat. So, I mean, that's what we had to do. So we ran into Fort Bayou, and we didn't just run straight to my buddy's grandparents' house. We ran into Fort Bayou. A couple of us jumped in the water, and Wyatt, like the whole reason for the stop was so Wyatt could hop in and put the plug back in the boat. So then after that, we went and docked it, and I went back to my buddy's house, and we ate and, you know, napped.
See, his story's not adding up to what the GPS is saying, y'all, because what he's explaining right here is just one stop. But if I'm not mistaken, and we'll go back into it tomorrow, we'll listen to it again tomorrow. From what I'm understanding from the GPS thing, they left Horn Island, they docked one place, they moved again, they went back and docked there again, and then the boat was see, he's skipping up. Well, I ain't gonna say that. We're gonna talk about it tomorrow.
A little bit. It was a long day at the island, so, you know, we were all tired. And eventually we go over to a girlfriend of mine. She was having people over for 4th of July. We were doing like fireworks and stuff. So we all went over there to swim and, you know, hang out. And I was
this infamous picture that I've seen online of Nolan in the water in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Where is this picture associated with? Because you said you guys went back to swim. Nolan wasn't with you.
Yeah.
So where's this picture at? Like,
Right.
what is it? What's the context around the picture that's been floating?
That picture is taken on June 27th, a week before the 4th of July. We all went to a friend of ours in Pass Christian. We had a lot of friends from Bay St. Louis, Pass Christian. We all went over there to hang out, and, you know.
And Nolan was in that picture?
Nolan was in that picture. And if you look in the picture, my arm is around Nolan in that picture, you know. And, I mean, that was a week before the 4th of July. So that picture is not associated within even the same. I mean, that was like a week before. So, yeah.
So you guys are now at swimming and having a good time at a lady friend's house.
Right. I never got to the pool. I talked to her dad for a while, and I mean, all my friends were downstairs. I went upstairs, talked to her dad. We were talking about boats and stuff, and, you know, I've been with my friends all day. I was just talking to everybody. But
so you talked to the young lady's dad, and then how long was it before you realized, or you guys realized that? Well, where's Nolan at?
I mean, I went back downstairs, and all my friends were just hanging out, and my buddy Wyatt had addressed, you know, talking about Nolan. I was like, well, where is Nolan? Have y'all heard from him? And he was like, no, we haven't. And I was like, okay, well, you know, it's a little concerning. Like, I mean, I'm not freaking out or anything, but like, I'm trying to find out where Nolan is. So I texted Javon, and I was like, hey, and also a couple other buddies that I had at the island. I was like, hey, have y'all seen Nolan? Did he ride in with y'all? And all the boys were like, no. Well, I texted Javon, and I was like, hey, can you send me Miss Christine's number? Because I hadn't heard from Nolan. And if she hasn't heard from Nolan, then I'm calling the Coast Guard. And so eventually Javon sends me her number.
Who is her? That's
Miss Christine.
Miss Christine is
Nolan's mom.
Nolan's mom.
Yeah. And I walked down to the dock because, I mean, there's a lot of people at Ava. It's not a lot, but, there was probably 15 of our friends there. And I was just like, walk down to the dock with a couple of my buddies. And I got on the phone. I called Miss Christine, called her the first time. She didn't answer. I called her a second time. And I got on the phone with her, and she, I asked her if she had heard from Nolan. She said no. And I said, all right, well, don't freak out. I'm going to call the Coast Guard. And this was at about 11 o'clock.
So what's your intent in calling the Coast Guard, right? Because right now, Nolan could be with a chick. He could be with somebody else.
Right.
He could have gone back with somebody else. What made you concerned enough that you felt like you couldn't wait it out anymore? You had to call the Coast Guard.
Well, I mean, like I said, my friends and I have been on the water our whole life. Stuff happens. People die all the time. I know people that have died out there. And, it's a fun place to be, but it's also a very, very dangerous place to be if you're not handling it right. And Nolan, so I hadn't heard from him. And obviously, I'm thinking I'd way rather be safe than sorry. I mean, I would rather call the Coast Guard 100 times and lose my mind over it, and my buddy be okay, than, not, and, me not know where he is and him not be okay. And so I called the Coast Guard, and I talked to them on the phone for like 20 minutes, gave him a description, what Nolan was wearing, the last place we were at, the last time I saw him, who were we with, what boat we were on, the conditions of the water, just a summary. And I called Miss Christine back after, and I talked to her, and I said, I got to contact the Coast Guard. I'm not sure who she called or, what she did, but I think she said she was going to make a couple phone calls to either DMR or Jackson County Sheriff's Office. And I was thinking worst case scenario. Like, I would way rather be safe than sorry about this,
Yeah, so you called. So it seems like you called mom immediately.
Right.
Probably the first phone call that she got from anybody.
That's the first phone call, like, at least I made. And I would assume that's the first phone call she got from anybody, because Javon hadn't called her. And, there's nothing wrong with that, but Javon hadn't called her. And, I was just worried about my friend. Stuff happens out there. Boat problems, it could be anything. But, there's a lot of stuff that happens out there.
He done threw Katie under the bus. He done threw Javon under the bus. He's a typical, privileged white boy. He throwing everybody. Javon didn't call. I mean, come on, bro. He throwing everybody up under the bus, baby.
I was just worried about my friend.
And so you guys made that call. Nothing that night. And I'm assuming you wake up the next day, and then what happens?
I wake up the next day at about 7:30, and my dad had texted me, because obviously Nolan's photo was all over Facebook, and I just saw it everywhere, and I was freaked out, because I was like, oh my gosh, I assumed Nolan's just we had been drinking all day, and that he's just sleeping somewhere, and that he's okay. But
if you assume that he was asleep somewhere and okay, why the fuck did you call the Coast Guard? You got to make it make sense. How you went from that night concerned he could be dead, and you calling the Coast Guard, to the next day you figured, oh, he just sleeps somewhere. Make it make sense. Which one is it? Was you afraid that he was in danger to where you called the Coast Guard? See, the Coast Guard call was a cover-up. You motherfuckers knew the hell you were doing, right? You went from that night being so concerned that you called the Coast Guard, to the next day you felt like, oh, now he's still missing from the night before. The next day, but you assume, oh, he's just somewhere sleeping. He just somewhere sleeping off his drunkenness. Sonya, you can't make this shit up. Like, you just can't. And I said all the time, every time motherfucker get out here go to running their mouth, the more you let them speak, the more they hang themselves. For real.
I did not, because I was on Facebook, and I just saw it everywhere, and I was freaked out, because I was like, oh my gosh, I assumed, Nolan's just, we had been drinking all day, and that he's just sleeping somewhere, and that he's okay. But I didn't want to believe that if we didn't know for sure. So, next day I woke up, and my stepdad walked in my room. He said, hey, have they heard anything about Nolan? What's going on? Because I hadn't spoke to him, and he was like, I was like, yeah, no, I don't know. I just gotten up. And he was like, all right, well, we're going to get on the boat and looking for him. And I was like, okay, yeah. So I got my buddy Ricky, I got my buddy Brooks, and I got my buddy Jax. My mom came on the boat with my stepdad and I, and we all went out there and looked. When I got out there was dozens of DMR boats, helicopters, planes flying over Horn Island. And this wasn't just Horn Island. There was also Ship Island they were looking at, I'm sure, and Chandelier Island, Petty Boy. It wasn't just Horn Island specifically, but where I was at Horn, there were boats everywhere, and not just like random boats, but like, marine resource boats and, cops and, the whole nine. Like, it wasn't like there was just a couple boats looking for Nolan. There was planes and helicopters and, everybody. So.
And then after this, obviously they didn't find Nolan that day.
Right.
And so what was your reaction like when you heard the news, or how did you hear the news that they found Nolan's body?
Well, the next day, it got to be about 1 o'clock on July 5th. And I was like, my mind started to turn. I was like, man, if he's not awake yet, like, where is he? Like, I got very, very worried. And, I was with my buddy Brooks the next day, and we're driving, and my buddies were texting my group chat. They were like, hey, listen, I got a phone call from my buddy Trace, and he was like, hey man, they just found his body. And I was like, I wanted to have hope, but it was really, really hard to have hope, and they haven't found your buddy in the last 2 days. And, but there's still a little bit of hope there, like maybe, he's not gone, and maybe, he's okay. But my reaction was just, I was with my buddy Brooks, and I broke down. I mean, I haven't experienced death a lot, but especially with someone I'm as close with as Nolan. And I mean, I broke down, and I sat there on my buddy Brooks' shoulder, and I cried, and I was upset. I made a couple phone calls to my buddies and checked up on my buddies, because, I care about my buddies too. I mean, like, we're all experienced this. Like, we all realized at the same time. We all heard the news at the same time. Like, he's gone. And so it was really, really hard on me. I mean, I've never experienced something like this, and it was traumatic. I mean, I could tell you where and when I was there, when I got that phone call, where I was. And I just remember it, like, it was insane. Like,
don't worry about it.
I can't even put into words how upset I was, and how upset my friends were. So.
And then comes the stories and the backlash and the craziness. I mean, you guys are now hearing that you're responsible for it. You did it. You killed Nolan. So what was the next step? Did you guys ever engage with police, or?
Yeah. So the first time I talked to the police was July 7th. I talked to the lead investigator, and I told them my whole story, top to bottom, dotted every I, crossed every T. I told them everything I knew, every little detail. I mean, everything I could, tell them to try to figure something out,
Were you the only one to talk to the cops, or?
No, of course
some
not.
Other guys?
Every person that was included, especially, the guys that you see on social media, everybody cooperated with the police fully. Nolan was with us on the way out, and he read out on the boats with us. So, I mean, we were the first people to get questioned. I mean, we cooperated with the police the first time they called us, and, we talked to them, as soon as they needed, and we were fully cooperative.
And we see Benjamin Crump coming to town, made it about race.
Right.
What's your feeling about that? Do you think that any of this has anything to do with race, or, because I mean, obviously something happened to Nolan. It appears that you guys may not have been involved at all. When I say may not, it's no evidence that you were involved at all. You guys had left.
Right.
But do you think that there's a racial component to any of this?
Of course not. I mean, I think if Nolan ever felt the most little bit uncomfortable around us, which we never gave him a reason to, but if he did, he wouldn't hang out around us. But if you go look on, like, my friends have had Nolan posted all over our social medias, since freshman year in high school. Like, if Nolan ever felt uncomfortable with us, why would he be hanging out with us all the time? I mean, every day.
If you had him posted during freshman year all over your social media, why you weren't posted when he went missing? Why y'all ain't posting when he went missing? Why y'all didn't post him when he passed away, when you knew he passed away? Why you didn't post him, when he was being buried? Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here.
We're back from college. We hang out, and we're around each other all the time. So absolutely not. I would never look at Nolan any other way than I would any of my other friends. I mean, he was like a brother to me.
You guys have been interviewed by law enforcement. All of you guys have been
saying he's like a brother to me.
But then I think that there's a part associated with this that's being rumored out in the public, and that is the situation with the cell phone, potential deletion of messages. When did that occur, and what happened there?
It might be another part here. That's all right. We'll get into it tomorrow, but we definitely gonna rewatch this part right here, because I'm gonna play the video with the exactly, Tanya. I'm gonna play the video with the GPS information in it, because he skipped some stuff, and of course he did, because he's lying. In my opinion, that's my opinion. He's lying. The rehearsal ain't rehearsing. Anyway, that's gonna be it for today, y'all. I'm done for today. We will be back early tomorrow though, because we got a whole lot more to discuss with this whole situation. Hopefully Tatum has another part to it. We'll get into that too as well, and anything else that pops up, because this is getting ugly. It's getting ugly and nasty. These folks is doing too much on both sides, and we're gonna continue to talk about it, okay? But yeah. Until tomorrow, I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow. Until tomorrow, listen, shout out to my moderators. I love y'all. Shout out to everyone that supported this live. If you didn't hit double tap the screen on the way in, please do it on the way out. If you Exactly, Tanya. Exactly. If you oh, I don't forget my train of thought at this point. Yeah, if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you'll be notified each and every time I go live. And we will be back tomorrow morning. Okay. Until then, y'all have a blessed, beautiful rest of your evening. I will see my true sippers on the other side. All right. Shout out to my moderators once again. Shout out to the new supporters. Yeah, y'all be safe, be blessed, never stressed. And until next time, truth seekers stand up. And we out. Y'all be good. I'll see y'all tomorrow.